it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, happy Tuesday to you, my buddy.
Hey, Crudy, happy Tuesday, man. Welcome back to Milwaukee. A little snowy out there.
In honor of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday and a lot of snow, I had to take the day off. Couldn't get out of the driveway primarily. I mean, I could have with my wife's truck, but she had stuff with the kids. They had the day off school, at least in Madison, Middleton. So, unfortunately, I couldn't get to work.
And you've been jonesing all day.
I have been for like 2 days. Yesterday was like the longest day of my short political life. Longest since Election Day last year. And Dom, let's not forget today is Election Day in the state of Wisconsin. Special elections going on. We'll talk about those more later in the show. Also, Dom, the money. We now know who the front runner is in the Dem gubernatorial field, and also those that are showing strongly and those that have faded mightily.
Well, we have, some money reports out. Plus, wasn't there some polling that dropped late last week as well? So we'll compare those, perhaps.
We will do so at approximately 3:30 today. We're going to have a buddy join us. He is State Rep Joel Kleefisch. We'll get a look into the Republican super secret nefarious caucus today with WRRD 1510's own State Rep Joel Kleefisch, Republican. He'll call us at 3:30. And then also, we're going to have the minority leader, he is a good Dem. He is State Rep Gordon Hentz. He'll join us in the happy hour, and we'll introduce you to a candidate, Dom. Chris Rolfe, candidate for Wisconsin Assembly District 60.
Yeah, she's coming in studio with us.
Outstanding. That's your booking. We'll look forward to meeting and introducing Chris to all of you in our big audience. That'll happen at about 4:20 today. That is a prominent spot, the 4:20 guest. That is perhaps one of the best guest spots ever. So anyways, big show ahead. And this is super special.
What's that?
We've never done this before. We've got, coming up, bottom of this hour, 20 minutes from now, we have live a DNC press conference. You're like, oh. No. Hear me out.
You better make it snappy.
This press conference features Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren, a favorite of mine. We've also got Kirsten Gillibrand. Another fine senator from New York. They'll be the featured. There'll be Tom Perez. He's kind of become a friend of ours. Let's not forget his daughter's at UW. He's a Badger now. And there is a union man involved as well. His name Chuck Jones. But we're going to broadcast live this press conference headlined again by Senator Warren and Gillibrand. And it's going to be a big deal. 2:30 today. We'll see at least a half an hour we anticipate going at that press conference. And that's special. I don't know anyone else doing it live. We got special permission from the DNC to broadcast this press call live for you, our audience, because we love you.
We do love you.
So, man, huge show. But Dom, let's start with a little Trump trash.
I don't know where to start. I mean,
Trump trash.
It's been so long. Which part?
Well, here's the part. Government probably going to shut down on Friday. Just saying.
It's possible.
It is possible, and we've seen a series of continuing resolutions. They've kind of limped it along till now, and we'll have a fine guest on Thursday, Mark Pocan, U.S. Congressman. We'll ask him, you shutting her down tomorrow, Mark? Because the president would like to blame it on the Democrats.
It's all the Dems' fault. In fact, I wouldn't. It's Hillary. It's all Hillary's fault.
Well, I'm not going to say it's Hillary's fault, but he would blame it on the Democrats that would stand with the Dreamers and try to push forward because, of course, DACA has been threatened by Trump. Yeah. So Trump's action puts all these Dreamers in jeopardy. The Democrats stand by the Dreamers. And, of course, Trump would be just fine with shutting down the government. And in the midst of the DACA talks last week, in the midst of bipartisan negotiations, Trump starts throwing out profanities, especially at Haitians and African nations. And he calls them
calling the nations they come from shitholes.
Yes. To quote Dick Durbin. And suddenly there were a couple of Republicans that apparently didn't hear it that way, and they made every effort to go out there and undermine Dick Durbin. I'm talking about Tom Cotton and Perdue, two Republican senators of questionable credibility.
Come on.
Because their cover for the president, this whole, he didn't say it. He didn't say it. You know what? 3 White House staffers are quoted, according to the Washington Post today. What did they say they heard if it wasn't shat hole?
From the Washington Post, as you mentioned, 3 White House officials said Perdue and Cotton told the White House that they heard shart house rather than shart hole, allowing them to deny the president's comments on television over the weekend. The 2 men initially said publicly that they could not recall what the president said.
I would call that, I use the term splitting the infinitive. I've had to explain that term to Senator Ron Johnson. But what that means, basically, when you're grammatically saying, well, it could mean this, it could mean that. No, we know exactly what it meant.
He said house versus hole, or hole versus house.
The intent was still there, Dom, and to undermine the credibility.
The intent of Donald Trump, or the intent of these 2 Republican senators. I mean, the intent on both sides are still there. If you're going to sit there and lie for your Republican president, I mean, it's a lie. You know, house versus hole, same difference. And if you're a senator and you don't know that, well, you shouldn't be a senator.
Dom, you quoted from the Jennifer Rubin piece. I'd like to do so as well. The first paragraph: there is no honor among anti-immigrant advocates and liars, I suppose, after dutifully lying on behalf of the president regarding his abhorrent language, shathole countries. Senators Tom Cotton, Republican Arkansas, and David Perdue, Republican Georgia, were outed by the White House. You read the quote. 3 White House officials saying, their way of covering it is, I heard house, not hole. Like, that makes it different. That's not splitting the infinitive. I read on. Not only did these 2 repeatedly lie, but Cotton also impugned the integrity of Senator Richard Durbin, a Democrat from Illinois, who told the truth. Asked whether the accusation that Trump spoke the offending words or the sentiment was phony, Cotton lied. Yes! He went on to say Senator Durbin has misrepresented what happened in the White House meetings before, and he was corrected by the Obama administration officials by it. That's a quote. I can only read it as it's written. Honorable men would, again, back to Jennifer Rubin. Honorable men would resign after such remarkable revelation of their crummy character. Neither Cotton nor Perdue will. We still await the appearance of a single staffer of either who would quit in protest. The incident is telling in many respects, but none more important for Republicans than this. They can lie and enable the president, hoping to score brownie points, but this White House won't repay loyalty in kind. Instead, Republicans will find themselves humiliated. So to recap, the president described a preference for Norwegians, i.e. white immigrants, over those from shathole countries, African nations. He gave the Congressional Black Caucus the back of his hand. In parentheticals, Rubin writes, at one point, Durbin told the president that members of that caucus, an influential House group, would be more likely to agree to a deal if certain countries were included in the proposed protections, according to people familiar with the meeting. Trump was curt and dismissive, saying he was not making immigration policy to cater to the Congressional Black Caucus and did not particularly care about the bloc's demands, according to people briefed on the meeting. You gotta be joking, one advisor said, describing Trump's reaction. He blew up the possible deal on deferred action on childhood arrivals program, bragged about his action to friends, and then lied to the public about what he said. 2 senators lied as well, and then double-crossed. They were double-crossed by the White House.
This raises several questions. Why should these Republicans hold elected office? Why should anyone believe them in the future? And lastly, what is the appropriate response to them? Given that the 2 senators lied to the faces of interviewers on the Sunday talk shows, network bookers may consider never having them on again. There known provocateurs, so whatever they say on their shows cannot be relied upon as credible. News outlets should respect their viewers by denying airtime for those with so little respect for the truth. I wonder if the same could be said about the president. In addition, Durbin might consider filing ethics claims against both of the senators seeking appropriate punishment by the Senate. The Ethics Committee has jurisdiction to consider complaints and investigate allegations of improper conduct, which may reflect upon the Senate violations of law, violations of the Senate Code of Official Conduct, and violations of rules and regulations of the Senate related to the conduct of the individuals in the performance of their duties as members of the Senate or as officers or employees of the Senate, and to make appropriate findings of fact and conclusions with respect hereto. Jennifer Rubin goes on. I cannot imagine the publicity impugning other members' integrity for the purpose of sustaining a lie would not constitute improper conduct which may reflect upon the Senate. Democrats have every reason to shame and shun these two Republicans who have behaved in such a nakedly partisan and dishonest fashion. I like to think that all senators would, but we already know how deep the tribal instinct runs. As for Trump, the more details that emerge, the more nakedly racist and dishonest he appears. Under these circumstances, my suggestion about boycotting the State of the Union might actually catch on. This is a Republican conservative columnist. Moreover, I don't see any purpose in conducting the in-person meetings with the president behind closed doors when he and the Republicans will lie about what goes on. Perhaps lawmakers should insist that all their interactions with the president be recorded so as to prevent more incidents as this in the future.
As the owner of a fine AM radio station governed by the FCC, it's been very difficult to understand how we should cover this. Do we repeat the profanities of the president? We've chosen not to. We've stayed FCC compliant. But if they're going to draw a distinction between shat hole and shat house and say, one is not the other, well, we're about done covering their tracks. Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates. You get the point. Having a little fun here. It's a Tuesday. It feels like a Monday. But it's a really big show, and I hope to come back with us more Devil's Advocates on the other side of this short break. You're listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM.
Calling the nations they come from holes.
What? What? I couldn't hear that last part. The connection just got really bad.
We have to close down our government. We're building that wall.
Make a resolution, Milwaukee, to eat your fruits and vegetables. Go to the new Pete's Fruit Market on Martin Luther King and North Ave. Find the freshest fruit, always the perfect peach. Pete's Fruit Market is a brand new, modern, full-service grocery with an in-store butcher shop. Go see the manager, Vidal, for daily specials at the new Pete's Fruit Market on North Ave in MLK. Tell them that the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy, but know you need to move? Hi, folks. This is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean. Most are pet-friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009. Or visit cclmanagement.com today.
Hello, I'm State Senator LaTanya Johnson. Making sure Wisconsin residents continue to have equal and fair access to voting is very important to me. Here are some key things you should know. Wisconsin requires a photo ID, and chances are you already have what you need to vote. A Wisconsin DMV issued driver's license. You can use this even if it's revoked or suspended. A Wisconsin DMV issued identification card. A military ID issued by the U.S. Uniformed Services, or a U.S. passport book or card. You can use these items even if they're expired, as long as the expiration date is after the most recent general election held on November 8, 2016. For more information about registering to vote, please visit myvote.wi.gov or call the Wisconsin Election Commission Help Desk at 608 888-261-2028. We won't be taken for granted.
This message was brought to you by WRRD 1510 AM. When Wisconsin Republican Brad Schimmel
I don't have a lot of expertise.
decided to run for Wisconsin Attorney General,
I don't even know my own website address.
even some conservatives questioned his ability.
You can always say no to a request for an interview, and I kind of wish Mr. Schimmel had said no. I don't think he was ready for that.
Schimmel claims to be all about law and order.
You start with the default position that yes, you will enforce the laws.
Apparently, even if that means enforcing a 1960s-style ban on interracial marriage.
It might be distasteful to me, but I've got to stay consistent with that as the state's lawyer. It's not my job to pick and choose.
Wisconsin deserves a competent attorney general.
We've got to go.
Yes, Brad Schimmel, you do gotta go. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Juice, Mom! Juice! Mommy, why are we going to the store? Mom, I want juice! Mom! Juice! Mom!
Your child will have different needs at different stages of life, and that includes the car seat. See, car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's a lot easier to measure how many times students use a semicolon correctly in an essay.
Educated educators talking education.
Than it is to measure how many wonderful ideas are in that essay.
Busted Pencils.
There is no teacher shortage.
With Dr. Tim Slecker.
There is a teacher exit.
Featuring Matt Damon's mom.
You want to know what my mom would say?
We've had an intrusion into education.
Busted Pencils Radio. Saturdays at 11 on Resistance Radio.
The Devil's Advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, 1510 AM WRRD, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube. We're on Twitter at Devil Radio, and always on the phones, 844-967-2789.
This is literally my favorite get up and dance song. At least it used to be. If my wife wants me to dance, all you got to do is pay the DJ, get some brick or whatever this song is.
How much do we have to pay?
Playing.
How much do we have to pay to see you not dance?
Buddy, I don't know if the people, not everyone, a lot of people listening on the radio, but those watching us on Facebook live stream, what are we, like the Bobsy twins of political talk radio today?
We got these sexy resistant t-shirts on, man. I gotta tell you, you're looking good today, Michael.
Especially on me. We're going to a DNC presser with Elizabeth Warren and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand right after the bottom of the hour. But right now we got some sound. Back to the topic at hand, the Shat House, Shat Hole. Like this differentiation matters at all.
Kirsten Nielsen, DHS Secretary, giving testimony today. Cory Booker, Senator, going off today. And I thought that was and I just saw it on the television.
Because basically she's also lying. Like, I don't remember any profanity.
I mean, this is amazing. I hope all the Republicans who are in the room forget or don't hear Donald Trump when he says push the button. But here's Senator Cory Booker on DHS and Trump immigration. Cut 90.
Vote language festers. When ignorance and bigotry is allied with power, it is a dangerous force in our country. Your silence and your amnesia is complicity.
Your silence and your amnesia is complicity. Senator Cory Booker, you're absolutely right. These people remember. It's not like they don't know. They sit there and they lie. Let's continue on. Senator Cory Booker.
Under oath. Lying under oath. I would remind you, the failure to recall something that happened 3 days ago that's been the topic of every conversation. This seems like perjury, lying under oath. But I'll let the good senator from New Jersey continue. Senator Booker.
I hurt When Dick Durbin called me, I had tears of rage when I heard about his experience in that meeting. And for you not to feel that hurt and that pain and to dismiss some of the questions of my colleagues, saying I've already answered that line of questions when tens of millions of Americans are hurting right now because of what they're worried about what happened in the White House. That's unacceptable to me.
Dick Durbin also getting a chance to weigh in. Let's play 95.
And God bless Lindsey Graham today for saying we hope the Tuesday president shows up to help us as opposed to the Thursday president of last week. It was two different Donald Trumps.
Well, maybe that's the art of the deal. Jekyll and Hyde, good cop, bad cop.
Schizophrenia.
Yeah, it could be. Dick Durbin, continuing.
She has a limited memory about what I consider to be one of the most memorable meetings of my life. And I'm troubled that she doesn't remember some of the key things that were said by the president very explicitly. How could anyone forget those words? I think we reached a point where it's clear she wasn't going to answer the question. Someone, I think I know who, decided that they would bring in 5 members of Congress, 2 senators and 3 House members, who generally oppose all immigration reform. The idea was clearly to outnumber us and to kill our effort.
So they don't really want DACA. He might want his big, shiny wall that we, the American people, now have to pay for. I thought the Mexicans were paying for the wall, Trump. How does that campaign promise totally go by the wayside? I mean, it's a much bigger deal when I've got to pay the bill as opposed to, let's say, somebody else paying the deal.
Yeah. I told you should just self-finance. He knows Russians with all sorts of money. He should get his own money back then when he bills Mexico.
Buddy, I'd be okay if they built some fencing, some wall, whatever it is that convinces Trump in his own twisted way that we built a wall. I'd be okay with that. But pass the DACA legislation. Don't shut down the government and stick around. We've got a live DNC press conference with Elizabeth Warren and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Tom Perez, DNC chair, and of course, the Devil's Advocates. You better stick around. That is next.
There's nobody that's done so much for equality as I have.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Well, you are listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, WRRD, 1510 AM, Milwaukee, Waukesha. Ooh, I just felt a trickle down.
I was on Zero Res Madison's Facebook page the other day, and they have almost 2,000 testimonials from local customers. Apparently, I am not the only one stoked on how cool this company is. A green technology that actually works better and doesn't cost more. It's a no-brainer. I'm in. We are starting our own Devil's Advocates revolution to free your carpets from harsh chemicals and soaps. Call Zero Res today and ask for the Diamond Crude Special 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Going through divorce is a very emotional time in someone's life, and when I went through my first divorce, I really needed someone to help me through the legal aspects of what my rights were. That's why I got in contact with Lawton & Cates.
The attorneys at Lawton & Cates. It's who you turn to for legal advice. 282-6200 or lawtoncates.com.
When you need an attorney, trust the voice of experience. The only choice, Lawton & Cates.
What do current WRRD sponsors, guys like Lenny Mattioli, Crazy TV Lenny, now Crazy E-Bike Lenny, have to say about advertising with Wisconsin's only Resistance Radio? WRRD 1510 AM, would you call us a great radio advertising source or the greatest radio advertising source ever, sir?
Okay. First of all, my emotional answer is the greatest.
Yes.
Now a realistic businessman answer, okay? I would say equal to or better than any talk show style radio station that I've ever advertised on. The return on invested advertising dollar is as good on your station as I've ever seen. Right now, it's the best.
Be like Lenny. Advertise with News Talk 1510 AM. Call me, 414-635-0872, or email me, crute@newstalk1510am.com.
Good afternoon. It is 2:32 for 1510 AM, WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. My name is Brian Kelly. The Wisconsin gubernatorial race's fundraising totals have been released for the second half of 2017. Matt Flint came out on top with $351,000. Malin Mitchell raised $310K. Kelda Roys has $163K and $151 cash on hand with just 20 days in. Andy Gronick raised $444,000, but only $450,000 came from himself. Dana Walks raised $514,000. Half of that total came from his own funding, and Mike McCabe raised $104,000, but has pledged not to take more than $200 per donation or more than $1,000 total from any one source. And the Journal Sentinel reports that the candidates collectively are on pace to match Mary Burke's totals, but no single candidate looks to come close. Tony Evers and Catherine Weinhaut, who are leading the polls, have not filed yet. For News Talk 1510 AM, WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We get by with a lot of help from our friends, Dom.
Yeah, we do.
And we are going to try a little political experiment today for your listening pleasure. We are going, I'm sorry, what's that? Momentarily, and Fancy Brian in there, and you can talk on the air, man. I hate when you talk in my ear. Fancy Brian's keeping an ear out because the DNC press call is going to start momentarily, and we're going to take you live. We have special permission. I don't know, maybe they would have given anyone permission, but I asked.
Anybody that asked nicely.
And so today we are going to have Democratic National Committee Chair Tom Perez, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, of course, from the great state of New York, Senator, and this has got to be my favorite, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Massachusetts, and former United Steelworkers Local 1999 President Chuck Jones. Don't know how Chuck made it on the call.
Come on.
Chuck was pushing against the carrier deal. He was complaining about he had wrote an op-ed against Trump about the carrier deal and how it was just a bunch of crap.
Well, I hope the DNC is not waiting to find out how Trump did on his physical, because at the White House, we've got Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and we've got some physician wearing dress naval blues. My understanding, he is the physician that examined Trump. I wonder if he...
Thank you for your service,
gave him
sir.
the Moon River. Using the whole fist, Doc.
Going to lose a watch.
Anyways, he's going to the podium. We're awaiting this press call. And, Dom, yeah, go ahead.
In the meantime, also, Curdy, talking about the DACA situation, testimony today, DHS and the Senate, the Washington Post is reporting, breaking news, Trump administration will ask the Supreme Court to allow it to end DACA. The Justice Department on Tuesday said it would take the rare step of asking the Supreme Court to clear the way for the Trump administration to dismantle the federal program that provides work permits to undocumented immigrants who have lived in the United States since childhood. The Department of Justice said it filed notice to appeal before the U.S. the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, seeking to overturn a California judge's ruling that the government could not dismantle the Obama-era program, while a legal challenge to the decision to end the program is pending. The Trump administration said later this week it will petition the Supreme Court to intervene in the case, hoping to bypass the Ninth Circuit altogether in its bid to phase out DACA in March. Attorney General Jeff Sessions said, quote, "It defies both law and common sense that a single district court in San Francisco had halted the administration's plans. We are now taking the rare step of requesting direct review on the merits of this injunction by the Supreme Court so that this issue may be resolved quickly and fairly for all the parties involved," Sessions said.
He didn't throw a damn judicial activist in there.
Nope.
Damn liberal San Francisco judge, one of Nancy Pelosi's friends, something like that.
Something like that.
You know, that's what he was feeling. Dom, yesterday, obviously I missed the day. I apologize to all. I'll do better. But there was a speech given in honor of MLK, and this given by his son, Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther King III. And during this speech given in D.C. yesterday, as the Associated Press reported, MLK Jr. son III compared Donald Trump to George Wallace. Here's what he said. George Wallace was a staunch racist, and we worked on his heart, and ultimately, George Wallace transformed. We've got to find a way to work on this man's heart, he added, referring to Trump. Wallace emerged during the height of the civil rights movement as one of the nation's most vocal segregationists, declaring during his 1963 inaugural address, segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. King's remarks about Trump come after the president faced immense scrutiny for reportedly describing several nations as shithole countries during a meeting on the immigration reform with lawmakers last week. We've talked about that ad nauseum. We're going to go live. This is a special event for you folks. DNC press call, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Tom Perez, DNC chair, Kirsten Gillibrand, played for the people, Fancy Bryan.
You'll hear Senator Gillibrand first.
Candidate Trump promised them that if he won, he was going to fight for them. Among other things, he promised that he was going to work to make our healthcare system more affordable for more Americans and make sure that everyone would have coverage. He promised that he was going to fix our tax system so that Americans as rich as Donald Trump don't get to pay lower taxes than a nurse or a cop. He promised that he was going to drain the swamp and get rid of corruption in Washington and change the culture here so that no one can profit off of their government work. That's what candidate Trump promised. So our question obviously is, what about President Trump? Has he kept those promises to hardworking American families? Sadly, the answer is that he's betrayed them. And as Democrats, we must hold him accountable because many of those broken promises have come at the expense of middle-class families all across the country. Let's run through just some of the lowlights. Healthcare. We saw the disaster that was Trump Care, which would have hit people in their 50s and 60s really hard, letting insurance companies charge them up to 5 times as much as people in their 20s. Another example is the rancid tax plan that President Trump and the Republicans in Congress rushed to pass last month in the middle of the night. This tax plan was soft corruption at its absolute worst, nothing more than a payback to their wealthy donors and lobbyists through corporate welfare, putting $1.5 trillion on a credit card that our children are going to have to pay back. Instead of giving relief to the working families who need it the most, as he had promised, the bill gives a massive permanent tax cut to the wealthiest Americans and the largest, most profitable companies in exchange for temporary and modest cuts for some individuals. Instead of rewarding work at a time when too many Americans are still struggling to get by, President Trump's tax plan rewards shareholder profits. Just last week, the stock market broke yet another record with a new all-time high, and many CEOs will no doubt get enormous bonuses for that. But when the Dow breaks another record, how many workers on factory floors or in grocery stores are going to see their paychecks increase? How many families across the country receive generous raises that reflect these historic profits? Or how many workers last week woke up to learn that their jobs are going overseas, or worse yet, reported to work to find the doors locked? We need to make our economy one that works for everyone, not just the wealthy. America's greatest asset has always been its people, its workers. And if we really want to fix our economy, we have to start rewarding work again. So I want to talk a little bit about what that means. Right now, many Americans are working longer and harder for less and simply can't provide for their families or their future. They see companies closing and they can't help but wondering if they're next. The Trump tax plan actually encourages some corporations to ship U.S. jobs overseas by using a global minimum tax. This allows the biggest multinational corporations to use tax to drive their tax bill to zero. This is just wrong, plain and simple. A lot of moms and dads are working 2 jobs now, or even 3, because their good-paying manufacturing job no longer exists, or they were fired to be replaced by an inexperienced, cheaper employee. Too many parents are working minimum wage jobs that still don't have enough money to provide for their kids because it's just not a living wage. Or too many make a decent wage but can't get enough hours. Or too many college students are literally drowning in student debt and can't find jobs that would actually help them pay it off in a reasonable amount of time. A lot of them might still be unemployed long after they graduated because they can't find a decent job where they live. Too many workers in their 50s with decades of experience are being laid off to cut costs, and there's no effective safety net to support them. The fact is that today's economy is geared towards rewarding shareholder profits over rewarding workers, and that's only been made worse by the Trump presidency's policies. When a CEO gets a nice bonus after he lays off hundreds of workers because that boosted his company's share price, that is not rewarding work. And it puts the American dream that we were all raised on further and further out of people's grasp. Because too many families all over the country are now paying the price for the broken politics and broken promises in Trump's Washington. So it's any wonder that so many workers are feeling desperate. We need to focus on people again, not the Dow, not dividends, not quarterly earnings. But to get there, we also need to fundamentally change the way we think about the U.S. economy. We can start by closing the gap between CEO pay and employee pay. We should encourage more employee-owned companies and more profit sharing with workers like Niagara Gear, which I visited last week in Buffalo, because when employees own a stake in the company, they innovate, they find efficiencies, and they make their companies more successful. When a company makes some profit, instead of putting it into a dividend payment or buying back stock to bump up the share price, let's encourage reinvestment in the workers and the business. When we as leaders and as a community start rewarding work, we will see more growth, more innovation, and more productivity. It's just a win-win. Rewarding work also means passing the Family Act, my legislation to create a national paid leave plan for the entire country, so that no worker in America ever has to choose between their family and their paycheck when someone gets sick or is dying or when a new baby comes. It means a higher minimum wage, so no one working 40 hours a week is living in poverty. It means equal pay for equal work, so all breadwinners can provide for their families. And rewarding work means having affordable child care and universal pre-K, so that new parents have the option for good early childhood education while also having the ability to earn for their children's future.
You are listening to special DNC live press call. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Devil's Advocates. We'll go back to the call. Senator Gillibrand from New York.
Workers' rights to unionize. Workers will have a seat at the table and help build the workplace policies that work for them. We can make these changes if enough people speak out. So I urge everyone to keep fighting back, keep calling your Congress members, because the only way anything ever changes in Washington is when regular people raise their voices and demand it. So now it's my pleasure to introduce an extraordinary person, Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is both my friend and an incredible advocate, and someone who really cares deeply about all our working families. Senator Warren?
So thank you, Kirsten, and thank you for all of your hard work. Let's start with a basic fact. America's working men and women are getting squeezed hard. For over a generation, workers' wages have been flat while the rich get even richer. During his campaign, Donald Trump talked a big game about standing up for working people. He said, and I want to quote here, "Under a Trump presidency, the American worker will finally have a president who will protect them and fight for them." But during the first year of the Trump presidency, Donald Trump has broken one promise to workers after another. Now, last week's announcement of 200 more layoffs by Carrier, on top of hundreds of layoffs last year, is just the latest example. Under the Trump administration and the Republican Congress, working families are getting slammed harder than ever. And corporations and the wealthy are raking in profits like never before. Donald Trump and the Republicans are bending over backwards to do special favors for their billionaire donors. For me, this is all about working people. So let's lay the record out there. The Trump Republican agenda has hurt workers' paychecks and economic security. It has endangered workers' safety, and it has made it harder for workers to fight for their own interests. So I want to hit on each of those quickly. Start with economic security. The Trump administration has made it easier for employers to cheat workers out of overtime pay. They've tried to roll back rules that stop retirement advisors from cheating people. They've ran through a reckless $1.4 trillion tax giveaway to giant corporations and their billionaire donors to be paid for by working people. Top Republicans like Speaker Paul Ryan have already started talking about ways to cut seniors' Social Security and Medicare to help pay for the tax giveaway. And if all that weren't bad enough, the Trump Republican tax bill will leave 13 million Americans without health insurance and raise the cost of health care for millions more, hitting families right in the pocketbook. But the Trump Republican assault on workers goes further, a lot further. They've taken steps that will make workplaces more dangerous. They've weakened rules that limit exposure to beryllium and silica. They're reconsidering a rule that protects coal miners from black lung disease. They've made it easier for companies to hide injuries that happen on the job. And then the third part, the real kicker. For years, the Republicans have waged a war on unions in America because they know that strong unions give workers the power to fight for better wages, to fight for decent benefits, to fight for safe workplaces. Under President Trump, Republicans have ratcheted up that assault. President Trump has nominated people to the National Labor Relations Board who have spent their careers busting unions and undermining workers' rights. So I'm joining Senator Gillibrand, Chairman Tom Perez, and Chuck Jones today because we need to fight back against the Trump Republican anti-worker agenda. We need to defend basic protections for workers, and we need to go further to push bold new policies that help working people build a better future for themselves and for their families, from the fight for 15 to child care to paid leave. That's what Democrats believe in, and that's what we will fight for. Washington needs to work better for working people. So I'm really glad to be here today. I have to jump off the call now because I've got something else here, but I know that next we're going to hear from Chuck Jones.
Folks, we're going to take our break right now. You're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show on Wisconsin's only Resistance Radio Network. Back to a live political experiment, a live DNC press call. We'll share it with you after this short break.
Wisconsin's doing terribly. The roads are a disaster because they don't have any money to rebuild them. They're borrowing money like crazy. They projected a $1 billion surplus, and it turns out to be a deficit of $2.2 billion. The schools are a disaster. The hospitals and education is a disaster.
And when I see Scott Walker with his little motorcycle and puts his helmet on and he gets off and he makes a speech, but he's always riding like, he gets off a bike like he's a big tough guy, okay, or a little tough guy. Their lobbyists, their special interests, and their donors will start calling. They gave you $1 million to your campaign, and this one gave you $5 million, and this one, you have to do it. You know what he's going to say? Okay, I'll do it.
Mr. Trump, you're using the talking points of the Democrats, and as we all know,
I'm using facts.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Hi, I'm Wisconsin State Representative Jocasta Zamaripa, co-host of the Joel and Jocasta Show, Saturdays at 3 on WRRD 1510 AM. Join me Saturday, January 20th for Resistance Radio's live coverage of the Women's March at 10 a.m., exclusively on 1510 AM. This special event broadcast is sponsored by Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin. March, activate, resist, and tune in on Saturday, January 20th.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, I work hard to be a leader in my industry, and I know the challenges posed by changing technology. It's my priority to make sure your network is up over 99% of the time. There's no question, trying to manage your own business IT is risky, costly, and time-consuming. Don't let IT overwhelm you. Learn more about Five Nines at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Excuse me. I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada. Nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me, and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So, I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, 1510 AM WRRD. Going back to the DNC press call, Chuck Jones, former president, United Steelworkers, talking right now.
The young people, they take advantage, hopefully, of the TAA benefits, federal trade assistance, because these jobs are leaving the country. You take a person age 40 to 55, okay, they're too young to retire. They've been out of school, say, 20, 25 years. Who wants to hire? So now, all of a sudden, they're out there without a job. They might have had 20, 25 years in a facility making 23, 25 hours an hour and working 55, 60 hours a week, so making a pretty good paycheck. Now, all of a sudden, they're out there. There's not a lot of 23, 25 an hour jobs here in the city of Indianapolis. Consequently, they have to take jobs in order to try to provide for their families, and some of them, they have to be able to say, you want french fries with that, making about $9 an hour. Some instances, they get a little more lucky. They get a job in warehousing that pays $13, $14 an hour, and then them are the ones that are telling me they're lucky. I don't see it, but, they feel like they're fortunate. They got double-digit job after making a pretty good paycheck. Now, all of a sudden, they're out there, they're trying to provide for the family. Hell, they never asked for anything. They never asked for a handout. All they wanted to do was try to provide for the family in a decent manner and provide them with a fairly good income. And for a number of years, they weren't. Now, here they are losing their job due to no fault of their own, and they're out there. Pretty soon, they can't make their car payments. And one on that, the cars get repoed. pretty soon you can't make your house payments. And here's a person, probably a pretty good person in the community, maybe a baseball coach, scout leader, or whatever. They lose their homes. In a lot of instances, at that point in time, the spouse bails. Hell, you ain't got no cars, you ain't got no home. They leave them. Now, here's a person, once again, that all they want to do is an opportunity to provide a decent living for their family, and due to no fault of their own, Donald Trump not standing up to his campaign promises, they're out there. Now, is that right? No, hell no, it ain't right. But people tell me, well, you got to understand it's a global economy. Well, I'm hard-pressed to buy into the global economy when I see people losing everything that they acquired and they work for, and once again, due to no fault of their own. Now, I never had no interest in getting involved in politics. I was president of the union for 30 years, representing people to the best of my ability. Well, when this all came about, I decided to retire. I had people approach me for various political positions.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show on WRD 1510 AM. We'll go, at least we'll keep our ear on, a live press call, DNC. We've heard from Elizabeth Warren. We've heard from Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. But Tom Perez, the DNC chair, if we can, will share his sound with you. More Devil's Advocates, Hour 2 coming back. State Rep Joel Clayfish. We got Gordon Hintz in the happy hour. Got a big show. Stick around. More of us.
Democracy matters, especially when it is inconvenient.
Make a resolution, Milwaukee, to eat your fruits and vegetables. Go to the new Pete's Fruit Market on Martin Luther King and North Ave. Find the freshest fruit, always the perfect peach. Pete's Fruit Market is a brand new, modern, full-service grocery with an in-store butcher shop. Go see the manager, Vidal, for daily specials at the new Pete's Fruit Market on North Ave in MLK. Tell them that the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Hi, this is Brad Saug, owner of Zero Res Madison Carpet Cleaning. Zero Res is the best new technology in carpet cleaning. We have a patented process using empowered water, a high-tech process in which we force the water to act like soap. It doesn't want to stay in that state. It's jacked up and it's angry and it wants to hit the dirt and then it neutralizes. When we're done, all that's left in your carpet is just light moisture. In the end, you get the cleanest, greenest, healthiest carpet cleaning available. Call us at 848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it backward or forward. It's the right way to clean.
Hi, I'm Crudy. I'm here with my friend Tom Alonzi, Principal Officer with Teamsters Local 200. Tom, why are you union strong, Teamster strong?
Well, because, Crudy, the Teamsters are the most powerful labor union in North America with 1.4 million members, standing together for better wages, benefits, and working conditions at their respective places of work.
Tom, what are the unions going to do for the next generation?
The same things we Teamsters have done for the generations before them, Crudy. Give them respect, dignity, and representation with a legal binding contract with their employer, not just the empty promises of an ever-changing employee handbook.
Tom, if people want to know more about the unions or joining the Teamsters, what do they do?
Well, Crudy, they can simply call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 and say, I'd like to know more about becoming a Teamster. Or they can go to our website at teamsterslocal200.com.
Be union strong. Stand with Teamsters Local 200, like News Talk 1510 AM and your friend Crudy.
You are listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee.
Physically fit. Tough words in Lansing. I'm Rich Johnson. The State of the Union address is a few weeks away, but now we know the state of Donald John Trump, thanks to last week's physical exam performed by Dr. Ronnie Jackson.
Age 71 years and 7 months at the time of the exam. Height 75 inches. Weight 239 pounds. Resting heart rate 68. Blood pressure 122/74. Pulse oximetry 99% on room air. Temperature was 98.4.
Jackson says the president also asked him to do a cognitive exam and it came back normal, and he says the patient could do with a lower fat diet. The showdown over the federal budget and its possible link to a bill to protect the Dreamers is drawing near. Illinois Democrat Senator Dick Durbin says any deal they thought they had with President Trump is gone.
Remember at one point when he said, whatever you send me, I'll sign? I'll take the political heat on this? Well, when we showed up Thursday with our bipartisan bill and presented it to him, it was a much different story.
The president's press secretary says Democrats are throwing away progress on a budget deal for political gain. Mitt Romney's not yet saying if he'll run for the Senate from Utah. Speculation's been active since Senator Orrin Hatch said he won't stand for re-election. A Southern California couple appears in court Thursday on charges of torture and child endangerment. This after police found 13 siblings imprisoned in a house in filthy conditions, parents being held on $9 million bail each. This is not easy to hear, but we'll be hearing a lot of it the rest of the week.
I was approximately 6 years old that Larry Nassar began to sexually abuse me.
Kyle Stevens, one of the many victims of Larry Nassar, the former doctor for USA Gymnastics. Nassar's pleaded guilty to counts of child sex abuse. Victims are telling this story this week in court in Lansing, Michigan, before he's sentenced. Wall Street, quite the thrill ride. Up 280 points, down 100. And at the bell to close trading, the Dow is down about 8 points. I'm Rich Johnson.
I'm Andy Buck, and I'm proud to be union.
Tell me about the underground economy.
Well, the underground economy is essentially workers being exploited, and they're being exploited all over the state. They're working for no benefits, no retirement, and if you don't join your brothers and sisters, you don't respect your craft.
Andy, why should I hire union?
Crudy, you should hire union because you want the job done right the first time. We represent the highest skilled, safety-trained workers in the industries that we represent. Glazers, painters, and drywall finishers. Join us. Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 7.
Live via phone, he is former U.S. Attorney Jim Santel.
Firing Bob Mueller doesn't mean that the prosecution, the investigation goes away. Pardoning one individual does not mean that you undo everything that has been done before. So this notion that somehow by shutting down and by pardoning and by sort of stopping the process, you're also stopping the wheels of justice is simply, again, it's simply wrong.
The Devil's Advocates, weekday afternoons on 1510 a.m. Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
NBC.
The new U.S. Embassy in London is now open.
The doors have opened to the general public with very little fanfare. There is expected to be an official opening ceremony, though the date for that has yet to be set.
Correspondent Aaron McLaughlin in London says the U.S. ambassador to the United Kingdom, New York Jets owner Woody Johnson, is touting the building's new features.
He wrote an op-ed in which he said that it's bigger and better than the old site, that it's more environmentally friendly and more secure, and it didn't cost the U.S. taxpayer a single penny, that the money used to construct the site was pooled from the sale of other London properties.
Last week, President Trump said he would not come to an opening ceremony over objections about how the deal to build the new embassy building was done. President Trump blamed President Obama for that deal, even though it was actually finalized during the George W. Bush administration. I'm Rich Johnson.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad.
Good afternoon. It's 3:05 for 1510 a.m. WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. My name is Brian Kelly. After criticism from Democrats, Governor Walker has given in and says he now wants to close Lincoln Hills in the spring rather than waiting 18 months. This is the second time in less than 2 weeks that Walker has moved closer to the opinion of Democrats in dealing with Lincoln Hills School for Boys. The prison for juveniles is located 4 hours north of Milwaukee and is the target of multiple lawsuits and a criminal investigation. Earlier this month, the governor said he wanted to convert Lincoln Hills to an adult prison, open 5 regional teen prisons, and expand a mental health facility serving the teens, a plan eerily similar to Evan Goike's plan. Tonight, partly cloudy, lows around 6. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, highs in the low 20s. And Thursday, sunshine, highs in the low 30s. Currently, it's 25 degrees in Milwaukee and 22 in Waukesha. For 1510 AM, WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Glad we could bring you, at least in part, the DNC live presser. And they've moved on to questions that doesn't translate well to radio.
Usually not.
So anyways, we'll move on. We're going to move on, but want to appreciate and thank the DNC for including us. Of course, we heard Elizabeth Warren. We heard Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and we heard Chuck Jones, a retired United Steel worker and union leader. And, I think Tom Perez, our buddy, the DNC chair, has probably spoken by now because they've moved on to questions. And as we said, that does not translate well. So while the DNC is holding their press conference,
there's rival press conferences going on, Crudy.
The president's physician at the podium taking lots of questions. And here was one. He is recommending a diet and some exercise.
No.
And the question is, you say the president is in excellent health, but his diet is primarily Big Macs. And according to you, Mr. Naval Physician, he doesn't do any daily exercise. How is it possible? How can these things both be true? And he said, genetics.
Jeez. Perhaps the president just has such a vivacious sex life that, he just gets all the cardio he needs 2 minutes at a time.
To be president of this country, you need tremendous stamina.
Now, he said that if perhaps he had been on the diet for the last 20 years, the one he's proposing, I'm not exactly clear, but he said Trump might live to be 200.
No, don't go on that diet. Give that man some bacon and candy.
I noticed CNN sent Sanjay Gupta to the presser. We play out Dr. Sanjay Gupta right here on WRD 1510 AM. There was some questions, and, apparently the gentleman, the physician, Dr. Ronnie Jackson.
Ronnie.
I think it's very unusual that Ronnie gave the president a clean bill of health, but incorrectly spelled his name while signing the note. I'm sure that's going to be a question for this press conference. Ronnie, an unusual spelling with the Y, is not how the physician's name on the press release that was released last week was written. It wasn't spelled with a Y. And what did the White House do when questioned about this incongruency, this inconsistency?
What?
They changed the spelling of the name to Y. They correctly spelled the physician's name, but it seemingly would undermine the fact that this was the original note written by the doctor saying that Trump was in excellent health.
Ronnie, yes. According to the Washington Post headline, Trump's overall health is excellent, according to the White House physician. So, there you go.
The president doesn't sleep much, according to Dr. Ronnie with a Y Jackson.
Well, apparently...
Not like our friend Profane Ronnie.
He apparently takes a little Ambien occasionally with the travels, the heavy schedule the president keeps, but don't we all?
If he's eating better, and he's lost a few pounds, he'll be in better shape than he is right now. Yeah, no kidding, Dom. If I ate a little better and lost a few pounds, I would also be in better health than my current health. That seems like sort of a broad statement by the good physician,
Ronnie.
Dr. Ronnie with a Y.
Do you guys remember on The Simpsons when Mr. Burns went in for a physical and they realized that he had every disease, but they were all blocking each other?
He was in a perfect balance of symbiotic disease culture. Yeah, I recall that episode. That was a funny one.
That's what I'm assuming is happening right now.
Trump is Burns.
You cannot take away the French fries and the Big Macs. They're the only thing keeping the man alive. And there's one more thing. I don't know if you saw this story over the weekend, Dom.
What's that?
You know, Trump's got a new friend, a Republican. He calls him my Kevin sometimes. Kevin McCarthy.
Oh, he's just rolling through his besties, isn't he?
TheHill.com reports on this one. Jacqueline Thompson, House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy had an aide pick out the pink and the red starburst to give President Trump as a gift after noticing that Trump only ate those flavors. In other words, he does have a color preference, Dom.
It's red?
Well, you know, much like the MAGA hats. McCarthy and Trump were on Air Force One in October when McCarthy noticed that Trump was only eating the cherry and strawberry starburst pieces. Here's a quote. "We're there having a little dessert, and he offers me some." I mean, this is your dessert Starburst?
Starburst as a dessert?
I would be more impressed if the president had a cold mocha latte something for dessert than Starburst.
Come on. I mean, ice cream is a dessert. Some, you know.
2 scoops for me, 1 for you.
Hot apple pie is a dessert. Starburst, well, although certainly sugary, I don't consider a dessert. I mean, a dessert after what? Well, what's the meal that follows up with the dessert of Starburst?
Overcooked steak with ketchup.
It's a tremendous palate cleanser.
We're there having a little dessert, and he offers me some, just the red and the pink. A bit later, a couple of his aides saw me with those colors and told me those are the president's favorites. A few days later, McCarthy bought some Starburst, and instructed an aide to sort through them. On the taxpayer's dollar, I would assume, Dom.
I kiss an ass with your dimes.
To sort through them and put only the pink and red ones in a jar. The number 2 Republican in the House then had the jar featuring his name on the side. Does it say, "From my Kevin"? Featuring his name on the side, delivered to a smiling Trump. A White House official told the Post, Trump's Starburst preferences are the latest revelation of his less than healthy food choices. The president's love of fast food, particularly McDonald's, is well documented. And the new book on Trump's campaign by former staffers also outline Trump's dietary preferences. Here's the dinner on Air Force One, Dom. Trump Force One, there were 4 major food groups: McDonald's, KFC, pizza, and Diet Coke. Trump said during a taping of the Dr. Oz show in 2016, he enjoys fast food because at least you know what they're putting in it.
Do you really?
My wife does not like me eating fast food for the very same reason.
You never know what's in it.
Fast food, that's a deterrent to some of us. You don't know what they're putting in it. It's processed. It's bad for you. It's
It's
deep fried.
Pink goo.
You know, but at least it's not poison.
I guess so. No reports. Have you seen, did Ronnie Jackson, the good physician at the White House, indicate whether or not any traces of that poison Trump is so concerned about?
He did have calcium buildup, but no heart disease. Wanted to clarify, no heart disease.
Calcium buildup, like bone spurs?
I would say more like calcium buildup in his arteries.
Well, you know, the bone spurs, kept him from serving all those years ago. Perhaps it could keep him from serving now.
He talked about, I believe, Ronnie Jackson, the doctor, Ronnie with a Y. I think the good doctor did address the fact that the bone spurs apparently not bothering President Trump these days, despite accelerated health or age. And it's not like he's as light as he was when he was skipping out on military service, Tom. I mean, the guy's got to be 240 now, right?
Yeah, this guy is
and all
ripping on
ass. He's
other
like
people.
a Kardashian. He's all rear end.
He's certainly a pear shape.
So I would say, perhaps not the healthiest example, and I would probably skip the KFC, the McDonald's, the pizza,
and the Diet Coke. The endless supply of Diet Coke. Well, you like your Diet Coke with a little rum, Crudy.
Well, with rum in it. The man's a teetotaler, though, Dom. You can't trust between Bush being a dry drunk and Trump just being an insane sober person,
if you believe,
you can't trust these guys.
Do you believe a word he says
about his
sobriety?
I believe, yes, I do. I believe there is a sobriety there, although I wouldn't be doubtful that he did some lines back in the Vietnam days, when he was dodging STDs in the nightclubs in New York City. But he did have a brother who died quite prematurely of alcoholism. So I could see where that might be affecting to him. And if you witness someone close to you who was a raging alcoholic, perhaps that would be a dissuader. But that didn't stop you from eating comfort food.
He needs a lot of that.
Extra crispy. It's finger looking good.
Oh, my.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. We've got a big show still.
Oh, Crudy, just for the record, Dr. Ronnie Jackson, no concerns about Trump's cognitive abilities from the good doctor.
They did the Mocha test.
You can find it on the internet.
It's on the internet.
It must be good.
Now, that's cognitive ability, as Jim Acosta from CNN wanted to clarify. You didn't test for mental defects, right?
No.
Like mental illness, that was not tested for, apparently, just cognitive ability. And he's got good genetics, apparently, Dom.
The best.
Do you think he's just saying that for Trump's sake? Trump thinks it's all about good genes. The Aryans always did. Folks, come back with us. We got more Trump news to break. We've got a friend calling in at the bottom of the hour, State Rep Joel Clayfish. They're back in session, and these Republicans, they're up to no good. We'll check. We'll see if he wants to spill the beans. Gordon Hintz comes up in the 4 o'clock hour, and Chris Rolfe, a candidate for Wisconsin Senate Assembly District 60. Don't forget Election Day, special elections happening right now. Go vote.
To be president of this country, you need tremendous stamina.
Then it came in and out. It came in 3 times.
I can't. It's too big.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property, or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009, or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Listen, as a hiring manager, I've got to tell you, the best job candidate isn't always the typical candidate. Sometimes they're a grad of life.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Sometimes the best candidates aren't the ones you're used to.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've messed up your daughter's haircut. Do you A, get spiritual?
Mom, where's the mirror?
Beauty is within. Oh.
B, find the positives.
Less time blow drying, more time texting?
Or C, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have to.
Twinsies!
I kinda love it. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, I'm Daryl Ingram of News Talk 1510 WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, and I am the Director of Advertising and Marketing. The pride of our independent stands runs deep in all that we do here at the station. The thing that I know for sure is that you can count on the quality and independent production of client advertising, mirroring the quality and independence of our fine programming here at News Talk 1510. To learn more, contact me at 414-335-0851 or via email at daryl@newstalk1510am.com.
Wisconsin Republican Attorney General Brad Schimmel claims he will further investigate the investigators of the John Doe 2 investigation because it was all a partisan witch hunt. Wisconsin State Rep Chris Taylor said this.
There is absolutely no concern expressed by this Attorney General or these Republican legislators about the underlying criminal conduct that this corruption investigation revealed. Scott Walker was breaking laws.
And Brad Schimmel fails to acknowledge the 6 criminal convictions, 4 felonies in the Scott Walker John Doe 1. Was that also a partisan witch hunt?
One newspaper has done a good job. It's a national paper, the Wall Street Journal.
And AG Schimmel filed an embarrassing hack partisan bull report where he's still looking for the leaker. Get a clue! Wasn't it Eric O'Keefe from Wisconsin Club for Growth?
Well, I was born to do this.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
When you need an attorney, trust the voice of experience, the only choice. Lawton and Cates.
I needed an attorney because I was injured at work. I wanted to find a reputable attorney. The results that I got with Lawton and Cates were very good. I'm very happy with the way I was treated and the end result that I got.
Trust the voice of experience. Call the attorneys at Lawton and Cates. 282-6200. 282-6200.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
To be president of this country, you need tremendous stamina.
At that speed, would be able to pull out in time?
Who can take a sunrise?
Women want them. Men want to be them. Tom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
Candyman.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, 1510 AM WRRD. Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, or on Twitter at Devil Radio. And always have a phone line open for you, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I'm not sure if this song's for the last story or the next.
Couldn't it be for both?
Kevin Candyman McCarthy, do you think he's really being sweet? Do you think this is bromantic, if you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, it always starts out that way with Donald Trump, and then when he's done using you, he casts you aside, gives you a crappy nickname, and then eats all your candy.
He would never turn on my Kevin.
My Kevin?
Although I wonder, is McCarthy simply trying to move his friends Pence and Paul Ryan up in the batting order?
Give them some bacon.
Have some more.
Yeah.
I got some bacon wrap cherry Starburst for you, Mr. President. Deep fried in the extra crispy.
It's the new rage.
And a Diet Coke, because I know you're watching your girlish figure.
Yeah.
The one thing I have not seen the physician for the White House yet address sexually transmitted diseases. Does Trump have any?
Do we get any details?
Do inquiring minds want to know the answer?
Cholesterol levels and triglyceride levels, those kinds of things. Do we get any details, or that is
I'm not clear. I'd just like to know on like the syphilis or the chlamydia or the various other diseases.
Syphilis will make you crazy. He's a little crazy.
Well, syphilic. Dom, why would we ask something like this? I mean, that seems a long stretch from
we're
eating Big Macs.
Well, this is the presidency of the United States of America. This is supposed to be a pretty big deal. I mean,
and a married man.
Thrice over?
Who apparently likes to cheat on his wife with porn stars.
What?
According to CBS News, Dom, Trump's lawyer arranged hush money to a porn star.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Cohen, President Trump's longtime personal attorney, arranged a $130,000 payment. That's a lot of hush money, Dom. To a leading porn star in return for her silence about alleged sexual encounter with Mr. Trump, according to Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal. The journal, citing people familiar with the matter, said that Cohen arranged the payment in October of 2016. Dom, that's like a month before the election. October of 2016 to Stephanie Clifford, who goes by the stage name of Stormy Daniels.
Yeah.
Now, once upon a time, I've told the story on the air, Don, that you gave me a little at-home research. You pointed me towards a porn site. Bill O'Reilly first pointed me towards a porn site, and I told you, and he said, no, there's a better porn site. I was down in the basement. I was doing a little research, as one might say, and my wife came sneaking down like a mouse, and my reaction was, Dominic!
Put it all on me.
But tell me, there haven't been millions of Americans out there this weekend doing a little extracurricular homework.
Who the hell is Stormy Daniels?
She's a pretty blonde.
Now, the White House officials replied, quote, "These are old recycled reports which were published and strongly denied prior to the election." Cohen didn't comment on the alleged payoff, although he did tell the paper that President Trump once again vehemently denies such occurrence, as has Miss Daniels.
No, she didn't. She was shopping this story. She was seeking money to do a tell-all. She was one of the accusers against Donald Trump. There's like 3 porn stars. There's another one that got paid off. I think her name Jessica Drake. More hush money, more non-disclosure agreements. That's how you shut people up. Just ask Harvey Weinstein.
The payments, the Journal reports, the payment was made through Clifford's attorney, Keith Davidson. Davidson declined to comment on the story, citing attorney-client privilege. On Friday night, the website Daily Beast reported they had planned to publish a story about Clifford and Mr. Trump before the election, but Clifford backed out of an interview. A friend of Daniels told the Daily Beast that Clifford told her she and Mr. Trump were, quote, more than just friends. Elena Evans said, quote, Stormy,
another porn star.
Stormy said she met Donald Trump and then tells me about the golf tournament and how she's supposed to hang out with him later that night. And she invited me, said fellow porn star Elena Evans. Stormy said Donald knew exactly who she was and wanted to meet her.
Of course he did. He was married to Melania. She very pregnant with young Barron, apparently.
And bring your porn star friends. We'll have a good old time.
You missed the quote, Tom. Evans told the Daily Beast Clifford told her, all I'm going to say is, I ended up with Donald in his hotel room. I was like, oh, I really didn't need to hear that. Then she offered her keys to his condos in Florida, and I was like, wow, guess she had a good night. And that was the last we ever spoke of it. Apparently, multiple times, Trump and Stormy Daniels invited this porn star friend over for a threesome, and Stormy Daniels described Donald Trump chasing her around the hotel room in his tidy whities.
Oh, no.
That's a visual you'll take to your grave. Come back with us. Joel Clayfish, a fine Republican. Wonder if he's any porn star friends. More Devil's Advocates. We're riding the storm out. Come back with us.
Daddy, can I go with you? I said, yes, you can.
Put that thing away! You're gonna get us all killed!
Hello, I'm State Senator LaTanya Johnson. Making sure Wisconsin residents continue to have equal and fair access to voting is very important to me. Here are some key things you should know. Wisconsin requires a photo ID, and chances are you already have what you need to vote. A Wisconsin DMV issued driver's license. You can use this even if it's revoked or suspended. A Wisconsin DMV issued identification card. A military ID issued by the U.S. Uniformed Services, or a U.S. passport book or card. You can use these items even if they're expired, as long as the expiration date is after the most recent general election held on November 8, 2016. For more information about registering to vote, please visit myvote.wi.gov or call the Wisconsin Election Commission Help Desk at 608-261-2028. We won't be taken for granted.
This message was brought to you by WRRD 1510 AM.
You are listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM, Milwaukee, Waukesha. There is not a gun to my head right now.
I was on Zero Res Madison's Facebook page the other day, and they have almost 2,000 testimonials from local customers. Apparently, I'm not the only one stoked on how cool this company is. A green technology that actually works better and doesn't cost more. It's a no-brainer. I'm in. We are starting our own Devil's Advocates revolution to free your carpets from harsh chemicals and soaps. Call Zero Res today and ask for the Dom and Crute special 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Hello, it's me, the designer jeans in the back of your closet. What happened to us? I used to summer in the Hamptons, and now I'm stuck behind a pair of sweats. Okay, maybe I never really fit you right, but I got a lot more Sunday fun days left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
He is Mark Thompson. He is the chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission.
When the leader of the Senate acts like a king rather than an elected representative and won't even give a hard-working person a hearing before he asks for his head on a plate, that is being a bully. So this is not, this is just stating the facts. No fake news here.
The Devil's Advocates, weekday afternoons on 1510 AM, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Good afternoon. It is 3:32 for 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. My name is Brian Kelly. I have some headlines for you. After criticism from Democrats, Governor Walker has given in and says he now wants to close Lincoln Hills in the spring rather than waiting 18 months. The Department of Public Works says there will be no trash or recyclable pickups today in Milwaukee because of snow plowing operations. Residents are asked to leave their cars to the curb until they are emptied. The State Assembly will be voting on mandatory sexual harassment for representatives today. We might be talking to Joel Clayfish about that. And Paul Ryan challenger Randy Bryce raised $1.2 million at the end of last year. And the Bucks beat the Wizards yesterday, 104-95. Tonight, partly cloudy, lows around 6. It's currently 24 degrees in Milwaukee and 21 in Waukesha. For 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Not a big fan of the music, but we're playing it for a buddy, and he's a little tardy. Hopefully he joins us soon. Waiting on Joel Clayfish, a fine Republican, a friend of ours. He does a show Saturdays right here on WRR 1510 AM. The Joel and Joe Costa Show. This weekend, though, Dom, we got all-day coverage of the Women's March coming from Milwaukee. Joe Costa Zamaripa, she will anchor, at least she'll be the lead anchor. I think you and I will factor in somewhere. But Joe Costa, she's going to be the glue that pulls it all together. We'll go live 10 a.m. on Saturday from the courthouse. There will be speeches, and then there will be marching, and then there will be the Earl Ingram show, and Joe Costa is going to help him along on his way as well.
Nice.
From the Wisconsin Center, that's where the march ends. So from 10 to 3, with limited commercial interruption, we're going to bring you a live broadcast of the Women's March from Milwaukee. And right now, I think we got a friend who's joining us live via phone. Come on, move on, Fancy Brian. Stop being chatty and put the man on the air. The eagerly anticipated Joel Clayfish, Republican. Joel, welcome back to the show.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, man. Thanks for joining us. I know you guys have a busy legislative calendar. What nefarious bad things are the Republicans up to this year?
We do have a busy calendar, but first off, I want to apologize for the rampant success of the Joel and Joe Costa show. I hope that's not digging into some of your listeners and turning them to the bright side of conservatism.
Well, I think we'll be all right, Joel. Thank you for your concern.
I did see some compliments on your Facebook page.
Yes, Jocasta and I are getting along famously, and despite the occasional dig we take on each other, we're having a real good time.
Well, Joel, I know last week's show, and when I say last week, I mean Saturday, Lincoln Hills, you guys had Evan Goyke in studio here on Brady Street. A lot of the conversation was revolving around his proposal that seemingly has been at least adopted or something similar by Governor Scott Walker. And now today, Joel, we're seeing headlines that Walker wants Lincoln Hills closed in this legislative session. Joel, we're supposed to be done legislating for the year, or you are, by like March. That's going to come up rapidly. Was that a topic of conversation in the Republican caucus today?
Well, isn't it fantastic? And, you know, it sure takes the arrow out of the quiver who accuse us of not listening to good ideas from both sides, doesn't it? Because here we are in a situation where there's been a vast agreement that Lincoln Hills has not worked the way it should. Evan Goyke and Bowen and I, and along with other legislators on both sides of the aisles, have been working on a comprehensive approach to juvenile justice. And I think the fact that there are some great ideas, the governor can see that. And he's a bright enough guy to say, those people working in the legislature have some fantastic ideas, and there's no better time than the present.
Well, Joel, I've always admired what you're doing in a bipartisan fashion. It's not your motives I question. Governor Scott Walker's up for re-election. He's already announced. Joel, don't you think the timing a little conspicuous? He could have closed Lincoln Hills anywhere over the last 6 years. Why now, if not for electoral timing?
I think you guys are just plain old too tough on the governor. And I'll tell you, you know, he had the resources to investigate and to make sure what we're talking about before we jump the gun and try to come to a rash decision. Goyke's plan has been well thought out. We've been talking about these issues for years, and I think the governor is saying that now is the time that we're able to go forward on that. A real tough sticking point about this, before you go too far, is the cost. It's going to be about $80 million. I'm not saying, I mean, for the taxpayers of Wisconsin, one of the things that is a source that's a good area for taxpayer money to go to is protecting the public. We have to remember, even those in the juvenile justice facility in the high, in the severe cases, are oftentimes found adjudicated of very, very serious crimes, including murder. So public safety is a real issue here. At the same time, we've decided for children, we are not going to lock the door and throw away the key. So we're not rushing to judgment here, but the governor is a bright enough guy to say that let's not throw away the baby with the bathwater and the work that's been done here. So you can say it's timing for the campaign all you like, but in all reality, the governor is embracing some of the ideas. He's coming out with some of his own ideas, and this should be celebrated instead of criticized.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio 1510 AM WRRD. We're on the phone with Republican State Rep Joel Kleefisch, co-host of the Joel and Jocasta Show right here on Saturdays on WRRD. Joel, is this some sort of admission of, I don't want to say guilt, but perhaps the governor should not have closed down Ethan Allen and moved these kids up to the Northwoods? I mean, now that we're kind of going back and looking at this, was that the proper decision looking back on it, Joel?
Look, I think you guys are critical when you believe a wrong decision was made, but then you're equally critical when you believe a right decision has come to over time. The best legislators, the best governors, the best elected officials are those who can take a look at the playing field, and when that playing field changes, they can change their course of action.
But if they're in charge of changing the playing field, Joel, I mean, the governor made that decision to change the playing field. Now he's looking at making a decision to change it once again. How do you not look at that and say, well, perhaps it was an incorrect thing to do in the first place?
Because I think the governor can absolutely take a look at something and say, this is a better course than the one we're on, and take that course. That's an honorable position. Too often in politics, people will stand by their own directives, never admit that there's a better way of doing things, and that's one of the things I take pride in. If I screw up or if I have something that I believe isn't going the right way, I'm the first person out there to say, yep, we should embrace something and take a different direction. Now that the governor's doing that, he should be lauded for it.
Joel, I've always lauded you And I would ask if that is the case.
And the feeling's mutual.
Joel, here's my only question. If it's never too late to do the right thing, and I readily admit, Governor Walker, to my belief, closing Lincoln Hills now as soon as feasible, that's the right thing to do, Joel. But if he, was ever to revisit a decision, how about solving the highway problems? How about just simply modestly raising the gas tax and fixing the frickin' roads, my friend?
Well, remember, the governor can't raise the gas tax without the legislative approval. And I'll tell you, the will of the legislature was not there to raise the gas tax. We did away with indexing to our success and or detriment, and you can be the judge of what that is. But when we talk about raising taxes, it's a very difficult thing to get through the legislature, and I don't think the legislative will was there to do that. So we had to solve the problem with the budget that we had. The Lincoln Hills issue, a lot of people forget. I was fighting on the finance committee to keep Ethan Allen open because there are much more resources, for the kids who are there in southeast Wisconsin than there were up at Lincoln Hills. I lost that fight, so now I can say, see, I guess I was right, but we're at the stage we're at right now, and we shouldn't rush into anything.
But, Joel, you talk about the expense of the possible solutions and how it might be untenable, but I would point to Foxconn, $4.5 billion, newest Legislative Fiscal Bureau report. I mean, expense is no hurdle when it comes to Foxconn. We've gone from $3 to $4.5 billion. Joel, that ballooning number that's now been confirmed by the LFB, it's getting to be a really big number. How can we afford Foxconn and not afford to be able to do the right thing with Lincoln Hills or the highways?
I didn't say that. We should afford one and not the other. First of all, it costs money to make money. And secondly, I'm not saying that our resources in the state of Wisconsin shouldn't be spent on juvenile justice. I do believe that is an area where we can make good, wise choices to spend taxpayer dollars that will have a fruitful outcome. I do believe that. So I'm not going to debate you and say we should do one and not the other. I think that there is room. I think budgets are about priorities, and I think juvenile justice in the state of Wisconsin should be one of those priorities. I got to fly, guys. I got to go meet with the speaker.
You do what you got to do. Joel Clayfish, our good friend, thanks for joining us. Joel, he is the co-host of the Joel and Joe Costa Show Saturdays right here on WRRD 1510 AM. It airs between 3 and 4. But this weekend, I don't know if they're doing a live show.
I know Joe Costa's going to be working
Joe Costa's got like a 5-hour anchoring gig earlier in the day. We'll work it out. We'll have some sort of broadcast. But hopefully more Joe Costa and less Joel.
Thank you, Joel Clayfish, State Rep Republican. See, we do have a couple Republican friends.
I consider him a friend, and I wish he heard the Fred Bear kind of playing it. He's a hunter fisher, as you know. We are the Devil's Advocates. I don't hunt. I don't even eat fish. Seafood, if he was a clammer or a scalloper.
We hunt for the truth, Crudy.
That's what we do. We are the Devil's Advocates. Come back. We're going to talk about who are the viable candidates for governor in the state of Wisconsin. Scott Walker, $4.2 million cash on hand. Joel's wife, Rebecca Clayfish, lieutenant governor. She's got $1.2 million. The Republican Party's got over $2 million.
They're concerned about all that outside money, though. The governor is.
I'm sure he'll get millions and millions more in outside money spent on his behalf. Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates. Gotta take a brief commercial break. We'll be right back.
They'd like to take me out for a lot of reasons far bigger than just this election.
Are you with me?
No! Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi folks, this is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009. Or visit cclmanagement.com today.
Hi, I'm Crudy. I'm here with my friend Tom Alonzi, Principal Officer with Teamsters Local 200. Tom, Why are you union strong, Teamster strong?
Well, because, Crudy, the Teamsters are the most powerful labor union in North America with 1.4 million members standing together for better wages, benefits, and working conditions at their respective places of work.
Tom, what are the unions going to do for the next generation?
The same things we Teamsters have done for the generations before them, Crudy. Give them respect, dignity, and representation with a legal binding contract with their employer, not just the empty promises of an ever-changing employee handbook.
Tom, if people want to know more about the unions or joining the Teamsters, what do they do?
Well, Crudy, they can simply call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 and say, I'd like to know more about becoming a Teamster. Or they can go to our website at teamsterslocal200.com.
Be union strong. Stand with Teamsters Local 200, like News Talk 1510 AM and your friend Crudy.
The Resistance is live 7 days a week here on 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Tune in Sundays for Meet the Press with Chuck Todd from 11 a.m. to noon. Then it's the Jeff Santos Show, kicking ass for the middle class from 12 to 3 p.m. And Citizen Action's Battleground Wisconsin rages from 3 to 4 p.m. Get your groove on with Stu Man PM, politics and music, 4 to 6 p.m. with Stu Daniels. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. We are the People for People, People Corporation. We are a registered 501c3, totally legit. What do? We take your uncapped, dark money, tax-deductible donations, private or corporate, always anonymous, and we turn it into free speech. You know, educate Wisconsin through advertising, which may or may not be in coordination with the candidate. Isn't that illegal? It should be, but it's not under Wisconsin law, thanks Governor Scott Walker. Politicians in Wisconsin are beholden to the millionaire and billionaire sugar daddy and sugar mamas that finance their campaigns. Time to make them beholden to we the people for People Corporation. Give your tax-deductible donation to the real patriots, the People for People Corporation, P for ppc.org, P, the number 4, ppc.org.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, it's my job to make sure your network is up 99.999% of the time. Technology is constantly evolving, and keeping your business up to date in an ever-changing environment can be a hassle. At Five Nines, we're here to help. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. Better IT gives your business a competitive advantage. Learn how Five Nines can help at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
It's important to buckle up your kids.
I know.
Sometimes car seats can be complicated.
I know.
And if your child's in the wrong seat and you get into a crash,
I know.
It could lead to a serious injury.
I know.
So you're 100% sure you have the right car seat for your child's age and size?
I don't know.
Don't think you know. Know you know. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Make sure you have the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Ass, grass, or cash, nobody rides for free. Dom and Crute are the devil's advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, 1510 AM WRRD, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the phone lines are open, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, as I mentioned, Scott Walker is going to have more money than God to run his re-election campaign, but I don't think money is going to be the only determinant factor, not this year, but it is a mark of viability in this expanded field of Democrats. And Dom, I think finally we have a front runner.
Oh, yeah? Who's that?
Tony Evers.
And how are you gauging Tony being the front runner?
Twofold. PPP polling. Now, granted, small sample, but it's still polling. And he's got a whopping lead. He's at like 30%. He's like triple anybody else, any of the other candidates, talking about Tony Evers. And above and beyond that, the fundraising numbers, they came out today, Dom. And excluding dollars that some of these candidates took out of their own pockets, I'm looking at you, Andy Gronick, and put into their campaign tills, Tony Evers had the highest fundraising total, $312,000 not his own money, other people's money.
Reporting in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Jason Stein, 312 without putting any money in Crudy, but has only $115,000 in cash. Matt Flynn doing fairly well in this regard. Came close to raising the most after excluding candidates' own money. Flynn raised $351,000, including, this does include, a $40,000 personal loan.
So about $310,000 Matt Flynn raised on his own, I would point out, in 82 days.
And has $305,000 in cash. He hasn't spent any of that money yet.
Come on, Matt. I know a fine radio station where you should be doing some advertising. So Matt Flynn's, I mean, this has got to be a surprise. Matt Flynn's got an outstanding fundraising number and a low burn rate relative to some candidates. I'm looking at you, Dana Wachs.
Let's see. Wachs Eau Claire raised $514,500 since announcing on August 7th.
That's a misnomer. He raised $279,000. That fundraising total includes, what, about $265,000 from his own pocket?
He loaned himself almost half, $235,000.
Didn't mean to be incorrect, but yeah, when you raise $500, you spend $400. He's got what, $163,000 ish on hand.
Yep.
$279,000. Not a bad fundraising total, but he seemingly is burning money pretty quick. Gronick. Now this, I got to tell you, I like Andy Gronick a lot. I think he's a dynamic candidate, but barely raised $100,000. And I don't say barely when it's $100,000 being raised by Mike McCabe in increments not to exceed $200. But Gronick's campaign, you know, a big chunk of that, $450,000. That's cash from Andy Gronick's pocket. But $100,000 raised separate of his own money. Andy's been out there for a while. Andy was one of the first candidates into the field. This, I've got to tell you, Dom, to my opinion, a very disappointing fundraising total from Andy Gronick.
Malin Mitchell for governor announces raising nearly $310,000 in 7 weeks and has $242,000 in cash on hand.
Now, that's an outstanding total as well. Let's not forget Malin Mitchell, a late entrant into this field. One must suspect that Malin has got a fair amount of union money in his pocket, or at least in his campaign war chest. No doubt that's actually a sign of strength of his candidacy. He was amongst the single-digit performers in the polling, the PPP polling. But when you talk about Tony Evers, roughly, what was it, 29, 30%, some would guess that that is shallow support for Tony Evers.
Why do you say that?
Because he's got more name recognition than any of these other candidates at this point. He's
statewide candidate
recently
before, right?
been on the ballot. He won 70%. I think he truly is the front runner, but I don't think it's set in stone. I don't think that means by any stretch of the imagination that Tony Evers is the presumptive Democratic nominee. I think there are a lot of candidates that could spring up even from that quote-unquote second tier. The first tier right now is Evers, strongly in the lead. Paul Soglin, who did not release fundraising totals, just jumped in. And Kathleen Beinhout, who is subject to fundraising totals today, but it's been a little coy. Haven't seen her yet.
We haven't seen Kathleen's yet. Crudy, do we have Tony Evers coming in studio this week?
He is. He's coming in on Friday at 4:05, joining us on our Brady Street studio. I don't know if you know this, education conference in town. Kathleen Lucy, my friend, coming to lunch tomorrow.
Oh, right on. Also, you
School
mentioned
board president in Poinet also will be an attendee at the big conference.
You mentioned our pal, political activist Mike McCabe. He raised $104,000, but as you mentioned, a lot of these candidates putting their own money in. $25,000 of that came from loans from McCabe and his wife, and has just $21,000 in cash, in spite of being in the race since September, according to the Journal-Sentinel.
Kelda Helen Royce. I don't want to say her name wrong. She did well. She's got like 3 weeks fundraising. My understanding, outside donors, about $68,000. Now, she's got an unusual circumstance. She, of course, has a former campaign committee from when she was a state lawmaker. And I'm not entirely clear, but it would appear to be that she has transferred over a number of dollars from that committee to her gubernatorial campaign, although she hasn't even done a campaign launch. If she did, I would hope she would stop on Brady Street and make it official.
Well, there is a Kelda Roys for Governor website.
Well, she has done the obligatory paperwork, but she has not made any public announcement of her candidacy. It was just secret pages on Facebook, right?
Well, plus she got on some of the local media. Wasn't she on Goucher?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying she hadn't been on this show because she hadn't declared for anything. I told her straight to her face.
So it doesn't count until she comes on the show? You don't announce until you come on the Devil's Advocates. It doesn't count.
She has not announced her candidacy. I have not booked her on the show because, as near as I can tell, Dom, she's not a candidate for anything. But I do admire, in a very short period of time since she filed the obligatory paperwork, her fundraising total's pretty good. $68,000, 3 weeks. That's good.
Crudy, you mentioned it. Again, going back to the Journal Sentinel, for comparison, in January 2014, Walker reported raising more than $5 million in the previous 6 months and had 4.6 on hand. His sole serious Democratic challenger, back then Commerce Secretary Mary Burke, raised nearly $1.8 million in that race.
But that's a misnomer because Mary Burke also self-contributed to her candidacy. I can tell you from very reliable sources that Mary Burke raised outside dollars about $1.4 million. When you look at the cumulative fundraising totals, not the candidates putting money in their own accounts, but outside dollars, once we know Kathleen Beinhaut's number, and I got to think it's more than 100,000. She may not have much more than that on hand, but I think she raised more than that, certainly. If that is the case, then they have exceeded the fundraising total that Mary Burke had in 2013 prior.
All the candidates combined.
Yes, cumulatively. It's a divided field, but they've raised more money than Mary Burke did. She was the only candidate. Brett Halsey, no offense, buddy, you don't count. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Got more big show ahead. We've got Minority Leader Gordon Hintz. He's a friend of ours. We've got a candidate. We're going to introduce her. Her name, Chris Rolfe. She is a candidate for Wisconsin's Assembly District 60. And we got special elections going on right now in the state of Wisconsin. I'd like to run them down for you. Let me see if I can do so quickly. I'm not sure if I can. Someone had put them all up as comments for us, Dom. Let's see if I can find them. We'll come back. We'll tell you about the special elections that are happening now. 10th Senate District, Bob Gannon seat, and one more I can't remember. See you in a minute.
The biggest fear that I think a lot of our supporters have is the outside money.
Oh, they drove a dump truck full of money up to my house. I'm not made of stone.
Make a resolution, Milwaukee, to eat your fruits and vegetables. Go to the new Pete's Fruit Market on Martin Luther King and North Ave. Find the freshest fruit, always the perfect peach. Pete's Fruit Market is a brand new, modern, full-service grocery with an in-store butcher shop. Go see the manager, Vidal, for daily specials at the new Pete's Fruit Market on North Ave and MLK. Tell them that the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Hi, this is Brad Saug, owner of Zero Res Madison Carpet Cleaning. Zero Res is the best new technology in carpet cleaning. We have a patented process using empowered water, a high-tech process in which we force the water to act like soap. It doesn't want to stay in that state. It's jacked up and it's angry and it wants to hit the dirt and then it neutralizes. When we're done, all that's left in your carpet is just light moisture. In the end, you get the cleanest, greenest, healthiest carpet cleaning available. Call us at 848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it backward or forward. It's the right way to clean.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Head to toe, everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, I'm Daryl Ingram of News Talk 1510 WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, and I am the Director of Advertising and Marketing. The pride of our independent stands runs deep in all that we do here at the station. The thing that I know for sure is that you can count on the quality and independent production of client advertising, mirroring the quality and independence of our fine programming here at News Talk 1510. To learn more, contact me at 414-335-0851 or via email at daryl@newstalk1510am.com.
You are listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, WRRD, 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee.
Who's doing a dreamer deal? A doctor's glowing report. I'm Rich Johnson. If the leaders can't do it, maybe the rank and file in Congress can come up with a solution to protect the dreamers, young undocumented immigrants who arrived in the U.S. as children.
A lot of us have been working together behind the scenes for a while to try to come up with some bipartisan legislation here. It's important for all of us. It's important for our districts, but it's important for the country.
California Republican Congressman David Valadao is one of those working on a deal. So is Texas Republican Will Hurd.
Leadership on both sides of the aisle is aware of the negotiations that have been going on and what we are doing. I think everybody would say that having bipartisan conversations has been helpful.
Democratic leaders want to link a DACA bill to the budget, which must be passed by Friday. House Republican leaders are meeting to talk about options today, including the possibility of another short-term spending bill. President Trump is in good health and will be with us for a while, according to Admiral Ronnie Jackson, the presidential physician.
I feel very confident that he has a very strong and a very probable possibility of making it completely through his presidency with no serious medical issues.
Jackson detailed the physical he gave the president last week. He says the 71-year-old can credit much of his good health to a lifetime of not drinking or smoking. Four-time Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles is the latest to tell a Lansing, Michigan courtroom she was sexually abused by team physician Dr. Larry Nassar. He faces 60 years in prison. Perplexed is how police in Riverside County, California described Louise Turpin's demeanor when officers showed up. Police found Turpin and husband David with 12 of their 13 children held captive in filthy conditions. The 13th had escaped and called police. The parents face a long list of charges. On Wall Street, the roller coaster Dow, 280-point gain, 100-point loss, and closed nearly unchanged. I'm Richard Johnson.
When you need an attorney, trust the voice of experience. The only choice, Lawton and Cates.
Another memorable case from our files at Lawton and Cates involved a 15-year-old girl who was left a quadriplegic from a van accident while employed by an out-of-state door-to-door magazine sales business. Our client was paid for her losses as well as pain and suffering. This case also raised awareness in Wisconsin to problems in the traveling sales industry, which has resulted in discouraging questionable sales companies from coming into Wisconsin. If your life is disrupted by an injury or other legal dispute, Lawton and Cates can help you achieve a successful result. Trust the voice of experience. Call the attorneys at Lawton and Cates, 282-6200, 282-6200.
When you need an attorney, trust the voice of experience. The only choice, Lawton and Cates.
BIBLE.
Do you trust me, the voice you're hearing delivering this hourly newscast? One new survey says the answer is probably no.
The new Gallup poll finds more than 8 in 10 adults believe the news media is critical or very important to our democracy. However, just 4 in 10 say they trust the media, down 13 points from 2003. More people had a somewhat or very unfavorable view of the media, 44%, than had a very or somewhat favorable view, 33%. 2/3 say most news media do not do a good job of separating fact from opinion. And most Americans, 58%, seem to think the proliferation of news sources and media outlets makes it harder to be informed today. 38% say it's easier. I'm John Stolnis.
He was asked point blank if he's running for the Senate, but at a forum in Salt Lake City today, Mitt Romney said, "I have nothing for you on that topic." Speculation's been heavy since Senator Orrin Hatch said he's not running again.
On the line, Miss Patty Flowers. She is Red Cross.
I'm the CEO for the state of Wisconsin.
Wow. Well, we couldn't have had a better person to represent the Red Cross.
Well, I think the number one thing that we've got to remember is that people are suffering, and this is the time of year when it's even worse during the holidays.
You are going to continue the same policy that you've had for decades when it comes to the east side. But these other zip codes, it's where you're changing the policy. Can you see where people may have a question about that?
We are going into the zip codes. We're just simply asking that people come to us and meet us.
Is this because Milwaukee is perceived to be unsafe? Milwaukee Central City.
We have long-standing agreements with taxi companies in the state.
The Earl Ingram Show, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m., Saturdays, noon to 3 on WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Come on, man.
Good afternoon. It is 4:05 for 1510 a.m. WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. My name is Brian Kelly. Wisconsin gubernatorial races fundraising totals have been released for the second half of 2017. Tony Evers has $312,000. Matt Flynn is looking at $351,000. $40K came from himself. Malin Mitchell raised $310,000. Kelda Roys has $163,000 with just 20 days in. Andy Gronick raised $554,000, but $450,000 came from himself. Dana Walks raised $514,000. Half of that total came from his own funding. And Mike McCabe raised $104,000, but has pledged not to take more than $200 per donation or more than $1,000 total from any one source. The Journal Sentinel reports that the candidates collectively are on pace to match Mary Burke's totals, but no single candidate looks to come close. By comparison, Governor Walker has raised $3.7 million. For 1510 a.m. WRRD, my name is Brian Kelly.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show special election happy hour. Dom, we're going to be joined momentarily by a fine guest, Gordon Hentz. He is the minority leader, but let's get a few of the special elections out there. We cover at least two of these districts. Corey Mason's former seat, unopposed, Greta Neubauer, down in the 66th Assembly District. Go vote. We've got Assembly District 58, formerly that was Bob Gannon's seat. We've got Dennis Degenhardt. He was on our show recently. I like Dennis. Go vote. Rick Gundrum, his opponent. And I know we don't cover the 10th Senate District. That's formerly held by Sheila Harsdorf. She's moving on to the Walker administration. But we did have a fine guest on this show, Patty Skronik, I think her name. She's going up against Adam Jarchow. We strongly recommend, at least I do, that you vote for Patty. Patty for Senate. I think she will overperform. I don't know if she's going to beat Jarchow, but she's going to certainly overperform Sheila Harsdorf's most recent opponent. That will be a good bellwether race. Yeah. And two special elections that will not happen. Apparently, Republican Keith Ripp and Frank Lassay's seat, they don't merit specials.
That makes no sense, but okay.
We are being joined right now live via phone. A special guy. He's a friend of ours. He's Gordon Hentz. He's the Assembly Minority Leader. Gordon, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Gordon.
Gordon, a full legislative calendar before you. Lots of time, or at least lots of legislation moving forward. Gordon, any big headlines we should be aware of, any legislation that should make us particularly nervous as progressives and Dems?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Senate last week had a bill that would usurp, local government's ability to pass a number of different laws and protections in the areas of employment and housing. We have counties like Milwaukee and Dane County that have moved forward with things that they feel are in the best interest of their residents. This bill would kind of preempt any of those local things, and that would have a negative impact. We've got another big bill on behalf of landlords that would continue to erode tenant rights, and as well as make it impossible for communities to be able to have a rental inspection program. That's something that my community in Oshkosh has gone forward with. We're expecting there to be a pretty big push to allow rent-to-own stores that prey upon people with bad credit to get rid of disclosing the interest rate and the protections under Wisconsin's Consumer Act. So I think, there are a number of things that we didn't take up today, but we know they're out there, and it's just a matter of whether they become a priority or get a big push from special interest groups or not.
Gordon, my understanding, the governor is now pushing this legislative session, somewhere between now and March, let's call it, to close Lincoln Hills. But Chris Taylor, and I'm not sure if I understood entirely what she was telling us, but Chris Taylor says Republicans have voted down the initial push to close Lincoln Hills today. Can you update our audience on that topic, Gordon?
Sure. Well, Governor Walker's really getting out there in 2018, and now he wants to do something about Lincoln Hills, and it's an immediate priority. We need to act now. Look, it's been 6 years. As recently as November, he said he was confident that everything is all good up at Lincoln Hills for kids and for staff. Now he's changing his tune. We voted on the floor. We pulled the bill that Evan Goyke has drafted and received attention on, which is a very thoughtful proposal to reform our juvenile corrections system, and under a model that's had a lot of success in other states that the governor largely lifted for his own plan, and it was voted down. We're hearing from, Assembly Republicans that they want to do something about this as well. And, of course, it's 2018. They're starting to feel the political pressure. The former Corrections Secretary, Ed Wall, is pretty much laid blame at the foot of the governor, and he's got a book coming out this fall. And, of course, we've been holding them accountable for this. And so, if we're going to do it, let's do it. And not get out of here and just say we tried. And that sounds to be what both Governor Walker and maybe the Republicans are saying without doing anything.
Gordon, is there any credit due to Governor Walker? I mean, even if he arrives at the right conclusion for all the wrong reasons, of course, it's his electoral prospects he's mostly worried about. But if he does the right thing for any reason, sir, should we give some credit?
I don't know if credit is the right word. I want the governor to do the right thing. I guess I don't care about the reason. We always try to push for policies that we believe in, and if it's political pressure that gets them there, that's fine. It's about holding them accountable. We do want to do what's in the best interest of the state, and if the governor wants to act, we'll get behind the right proposal. I just think it's a little disingenuous for him to be making this such a priority and trying to take credit as if he's been leading when he's really been leading from behind. But, yeah, at the end of the day, do I want to get something done and get the right thing done? Yes, but we've also been calling for this for years now.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, 1510 AM WRRD. Democratic State Rep Gordon Hintz, the Assembly Minority Leader, joins us on the phone. Gordon, saw that Bob Lang from the Legislative Fiscal Bureau sent you a memo dated January 4th regarding the Foxconn assistance from the state. I know you took some umbrage with this, sir. What's the update?
Well, the update is just reminding everybody that despite the discussions about a proposal that was going to cost the state as much as $3 billion, with most of it coming in the form of cash payments to Foxconn, we made the case that it was likely to cost much more. And with the breakdown that the Fiscal Bureau gave us, and this information has been out there, I was even on your show talking about it, but just the official breakdown with the credibility of the Fiscal Bureau, that the number is really closer to $4.5 billion, and that's really without a lot of the costs that I think are still to come. And so we wanted to get this out there so people know that it's not $3 billion, it's $4.5 billion.
And Gordon, have any of your friends from the other side of the aisle, have they shown any concern about this? I mean, at 4.5, that's 50% higher than the original $3 billion, and that was used to calculate the 25-year payback, with the majority of those jobs coming from Wisconsin citizens. This seems to throw that math into question. Have you seen or heard any response from your Republican friends?
I can't say that I've talked to too many about them. I can tell there's consternation. You certainly don't hear many of them talking about it. I don't think any of them bothered to show up for the groundbreaking of one of the new roads there that occurred the other day. I think what was most telling is when the governor had his choreographed re-election announcement that he didn't mention it. I think people realize that this is something that, even if there is a benefit, is really going to benefit one part of the state, and it's really going to erode a lot of funding from everywhere else in the state. I met with some university officials who privately shared that they're very concerned about future cuts to the UW system as a result of the large cash payments that would be committed, over the next decade to Foxconn, especially if the economy slows down.
Gordon, I'm not clear. Who came up with the 25-year, break-even analysis, and can we request another one with the updated numbers?
That's a good question. So the Fiscal Bureau did the 25-year payback, and essentially what that took was the direct jobs, assuming that all of the investment is made by Foxconn and all of the jobs are added, and the credit is fully utilized, and then all of the revenue is generated from, both the direct and the indirect jobs. So all of the development, the new Applebee's, whatever else is that grows around there, the money that the state would pay in would come over the next 15 years, but it would take an additional 10 years on top of that for it to balance in terms of money in, money out. I think it's unlikely that they're going to spend and invest $10 billion and get 13,000 jobs directly there. And so it could be a scenario, especially if we don't get as many jobs, but they spend all of the money on the credit, that it takes much longer than 25 years. And of course, $4.5 billion, I think it's safe to say it'll be well beyond 25 years before we get the state payback.
Gordon, we had your Assembly colleague Joel Kleefisch on the show just a little earlier, a Republican, as you know. Joel said, the governor should get some credit for coming around on this issue of Lincoln Hills and, give him credit where credit due. Here's my question. If it's never too late to do the right thing, why hasn't this governor done the right thing about solving long-term road funding? As I look at the LFB's memo, we've got another $500 million invested in roads in this newest calculation just for Foxconn, but I got to drive through road construction every day to get home, sir. I don't remember the governor, A, ever doing the right thing on long-term road funding, and B, why does Foxconn get another $500 million when I got to dodge the potholes every day?
Well, it's never too late to do something about transportation either, and that problem's not going away, and it's getting more expensive, and you're going to continue to see more potholes and see more delays. And of course, it was insulting, I think, to a lot of parts of the state to see that their 17% of those projects are going to be delayed. It's something that if it doesn't get in the budget, sometimes it gets ignored. I mean, these guys are looking to pack up shop, get back to, raising hordes of money from their corporate friends and, hopefully spend enough to be able to retain their seats and help the governor get reelected. I think if addressing Lincoln Hills is a priority, we'll stay here long enough to get it done. That's something we can get done on a bipartisan basis. And look, again, I'm not going to give credit, but I'm happy the governor's come around, even if the reasons are pretty transparent. but we should stay here, not adjourn in 5 weeks or whatever it is that they're talking about, and stay here and get something meaningful done. But, it shouldn't be done behind closed doors. We should work to get a sensible solution that we can feel confident is going to get done going forward. Because remember, the governor initially said, "Hey, I'm going to close Lincoln Hills. We're going to do it sometime in the next 2 years, after I'm reelected," and that wasn't good enough.
Gordon, today's a special election here in the state of Wisconsin. We've got a couple of assembly seats. 66th, that, of course, Corey Mason's former seat. Greta Neubauer, unopposed, seems like she will win. There's a good race for Bob Gannon's seat in the Assembly 58th, Dennis Degenhardt and Rick Gundrum. But perhaps the one that I've heard pointed to as a bellwether of what might be coming here in the state of Wisconsin is the 10th Senate District, Patty Skronik and Adam Jarchow. Any early predictions? Do you share my enthusiasm? Could this race show us that the tide is turning here in the state of Wisconsin, Gordon?
Well, I don't know about any specific predictions, but I think it is going to be a lot closer than people think. I think that Democrats have a chance to overperform, not just because of the disaster that Donald Trump and Scott Walker have, the mess they've made over the last few years, but because we've got good candidates that are offering a contrast of, what the possibilities are. We tend to focus sometimes on the negatives of what's occurred, but of course there are all the things that aren't being addressed, that simply aren't a priority, that negatively impact opportunity in a state like ours. I think Dennis Degenhardt is a great community guy who reflects the district, who, the numbers are not great there, but I think you're going to see him certainly overperform the low numbers, and I think you'll see the same thing in western Wisconsin. And obviously I'm thrilled to have Greta Neubauer be joining us from Racine, and she's going to be a great member right off the bat.
State Rep Gordon Hintz, he's the Assembly Minority Leader and a friend of ours. Gordon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Gordon. Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates right here on WRRD 1510 AM. The happy hour continues. We're going to introduce you to a candidate for Wisconsin's Assembly District 60. She's Chris Ralph. She's here now. She's coming in next. Stick around. More Devil's Advocates. We'll see if we can add a few more D's to the roll over on the Assembly side.
I love being governor when you've got a state like this.
Good for you.
When Wisconsin Republican Brad Schimmel,
I don't have a lot of expertise.
decided to run for Wisconsin Attorney General,
I don't even know my own website address.
even some conservatives questioned his ability.
You can always say no to a request for an interview, and I kind of wish Mr. Schimmel had said no. I don't think he was ready for that.
Schimmel claims to be all about law and order.
You start with the default position that, yes, you will enforce the laws.
Apparently, even if that means enforcing a 1960s-style ban on interracial marriage.
It might be distasteful to me, but I've got to stay consistent with that as the state's lawyer. It's not my job to pick and choose.
Wisconsin deserves a competent attorney general.
We got to go.
Yes, Brad Schimmel, you do got to go. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property, or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009, or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
We got Mark Pocan live via phone. Mark, does Paul Ryan hate poor people?
Oh, he hates poor people and middle-class people. I mean, I think when he was probably 5 years old playing with Play-Doh, trying to, adjust the taxes on Play-Doh. And so, to be fair, I think he's doing what he always said he was going to do. It's just no one actually believed he was either that cruel, evil, or dumb to do it.
The Devil's Advocates, weekday afternoons on 1510 AM, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off for school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Driving means
freedom,
exploration,
fun,
pride,
flexibility,
travel,
protection,
ability,
friendship,
excitement,
escape,
independence.
Distracted driving means
danger,
recklessness,
irresponsible,
chaos, police,
devastation,
injury,
death.
Safe driving means staying alert and staying alive.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. It's the 420 break. You can check us out online, domandcrute.com.
Dominic, did I misspeak? Did I say vote for Patty Skronik? That there is no such human being. My apologies. Schachner. Patty for Senate. Patty Schachner, 10th Senate District. Man, I'm going to get hate mail.
Yeah, don't do that.
We got a fine guest. She has joined us live in studio, Chris Rolfe. She is soon to announce as a candidate for Wisconsin State Assembly District number 60. And she's learned something from somebody. She came bearing gifts.
Yes.
Chris, welcome to our little Brady Street studio.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me. And I was happy to bring some beer from the Fermentorium, which is Cedarburg's own brewery and tasting room.
Nice. A local beverage.
Yeah, and it's absolutely wonderful beer.
I'm enjoying the Juice Packets India Pale Ale. It's an IP. Tell us, where is the 60th Assembly District?
The 60th Assembly District includes Cedarburg, Port Washington. In 2011, they gerrymandered out Grafton.
They did?
Yeah.
Ah.
So instead, I have a really tasty little slice of Washington County, which includes, if you believe it, rural West Bend, as opposed to the urban part of West Bend, and Newburgh, Jackson, so kind of the eastern side of Washington County. So it's a great district, good people. Looking forward to representing them.
Chris Rolfe, they can hear you on this fine radio station in all the WOW counties. Chris Rolfe, a Democrat, she's a candidate for Wisconsin's 60th Assembly District. We'll catch up with her on the other side of this short break. Come back with us. The happy hour is just getting started right here on Brady Street with Chris Rolfe and the Devil's Advocates.
American women deserve better, and American women
are here to fight back.
Make a resolution, Milwaukee, to eat your fruits and vegetables. Go to the new Pete's Fruit Market on Martin Luther King and North Ave. Find the freshest fruit, always the perfect peach. Pete's Fruit Market is a brand new, modern, full-service grocery with an in-store butcher shop. Go see the manager, Vidal, for daily specials at the new Pete's Fruit Market on North Ave in MLK. Tell them that the Devil's Advocate sent you.
I got to tell you, so when I first moved to Green Bay to play football in 92, I had never been to Wisconsin. But the funniest thing I thought, you could not buy hamburger patties without a dollop of butter on them.
Folks, just so you know, if you take a little bit of herb butter and put it in the middle of a patty and just kind of mold it around there, you get magic.
I have one of my arteries right now.
How much did you say you weighed?
I'm gaining weight with my thoughts right now.
You're $3 bills and some change already, brother.
Guns Butter Economics, 414 Wisconsin, weekdays 9 to 11 a.m. on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Hello, I'm State Senator LaTanya Johnson. This year's primary will be held on February 20th, and the spring election is on April 3rd. We will not be taken for granted.
I was on Zero Res Madison's Facebook page the other day, and they have almost 2,000 testimonials from local customers. Apparently, I am not the only one stoked on how cool this company is. A green technology that actually works better and doesn't cost more. It's a no-brainer. I'm in. We are starting our own Devil's Advocates revolution to free your carpets from harsh chemicals and soaps. Call Zero Res today and ask for the Diamond Crute Special 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella, Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. We provide 99.999% uptime. That's the highest availability and performance you can get. You have enough to worry about with your business data, web, security, and cloud services, so we'll manage your IT so you don't have to. Visit 59s.com. That's the number 5NINES.com.
My name is Adam Holmes, and I'm proud to be union.
Adam, you're Director of Training for Painters District Council 7. What do you do?
I'm making sure that we're investing in our members. We're providing the safest and best trained painters, glazers, drywall finishers, and trade show workers in the industry, and we also do that at no cost to the taxpayers.
Why hire unions?
Because it costs less to be safe. We keep the contractor on the right side of OSHA and help keep the workmen's comp rates affordable. Join us, Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 7.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Good afternoon. It is 4:32 for 1510 a.m. WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. My name is Brian Kelly. After criticism from Democrats, Governor Walker has given in and says he now wants to close Lincoln Hills in the spring rather than waiting 18 months. This is the second time in less than 2 weeks that Walker has moved closer to the opinion of Democrats in dealing with the Lincoln Hills School for Boys. The prison for juveniles is located over 4 hours north of Milwaukee and is the target of multiple lawsuits and a criminal investigation. Earlier this month, Governor said he wanted to convert Lincoln Hills into an adult prison, open 5 regional teen prisons, and expand a mental health facility serving the teens. The plan looks eerily similar to a plan Evan Goyke proposed just recently. Tonight, partly cloudy, lows around 6. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, highs in the low 20s. It is currently 22 degrees in Milwaukee, 19 in Waukesha. For 1510 a.m. WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. Diamond Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. The happy hour continues. I got a cold one.
Yes.
Got a fine guest live in our Brady Street studio. She's Chris Rolfe. She is a candidate for Wisconsin State Assembly District 60. And Chris, I guess the formal announcement comes next week.
Yes, on the 23rd, which is 1 week from today, we'll be at the Fermentorium at 5:30. We'll have our formal kickoff celebration. I'm super excited. It's open to anybody who wants to stop by. We're going to have a lot of candidates there. I'm guessing we'll have probably about a dozen other assembly candidates. Dan Cole running against Glenn Grothman. He's going to be there. Tom.
We're cheering for Dan.
I love Dan. He's going to be he's just a wonderful candidate. And then Tom
Pelzowitz. Yeah, we met Tom as well. He's a good guy.
Yeah, Tom's going to come on out, and I'm actually heading after this over to one of his campaign events. This is really probably the strongest slate of Democratic candidates we've had in years, especially in the North Shore, Ozaukee County, Washington County. We've got assembly candidates in every single assembly district in Ozaukee County. I think that's probably the first time I've seen that.
You can't win
if you don't run.
If you don't run.
Yes, that's what really excites me is that, and you know, some might be an uphill fight, but you got to show up. You know what I mean?
Chris, let me ask you, what's your background separate of politics?
I come from a military family. Full disclosure, I didn't grow up in Wisconsin. My dad is from a tiny little town called St. Lawrence, which is right by Hartford. And as soon as he got out of high school, he joined the military. So I was a military brat. I grew up on bases overseas, Germany and England. But I listened to my dad talk about Wisconsin, and so for me it was kind of this mythical place, and just where communities worked together and people looked out for each other. And
used to be.
Yes. I think it can be again. So as soon as I got out of high school, I came back here. I went to Marquette. I joined the Navy, so I followed in my dad's military footsteps, and spent some time in the Navy, spent some time working out in California in construction. We came back about 15 years ago. My husband retired from the Navy, and we wanted to make Wisconsin our home. So we came back about 15 years ago, and we love it here. We absolutely love it here.
Chris, you ever live in Illinois?
No.
Good. Good. I'd have had to kick you out.
Come on, Brian's in there going, what?
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Got a fine candidate. She is Chris Rolfe. She's running as a Democrat for Wisconsin State Assembly District 60. The big announcement in a week, but, a good first step coming down to the Devil's Advocates and bringing the cold ones.
Thank you.
Chris, what about kids?
Kids, I've got two. We have two sons, and one of them lives in Milwaukee. He just recently got married, so I'm the proud grandmother of two dogs.
Oh, congratulations.
And
one of the few millennials that didn't move on, Chris?
Yes. Yeah, he's a homeboy. And then my other son, my youngest son, is actually married with 3 children, and he is in the Air Force. In fact, a couple days ago, he just shipped out for Afghanistan. So today we were buying beef jerky and some snacks to put a care package together for him. So... I just service has always just been part of our family's culture, and so not necessarily on the political side, but this is kind of a new adventure for us.
Yeah, Chris, what motivates you to get involved in this kind of level right now? Why are you running?
Well, aside from having a sense of service, I also have a business background. So I worked in construction for 30 years, and ouch. And so I worked with big, diverse groups. In a construction project, you have people with a lot of conflicting interests.
Yes.
And being able to bring groups together, identify the common problems, and then work together for solutions, I think that's a skill set that is dearly lacking in our state government right now. So I felt compelled to step forward and put my hat in the ring.
Chris, did you ever develop projects that sold primarily for cash to Russian oligarchs?
No, that and I think the developer, the Donald Trump style developer doesn't really exist out here in the Midwest, and the construction industry is a phenomenal industry to work in. There aren't enough women, so if there's any women out there interested in getting into construction, give me a call. But it's a good way to learn about business and learn about how to get along with people.
Chris, it seems like a good year for women that want to get into politics. Has gender inspired you at all? Dom and I had the good fortune a year ago to first, and this is not the fortuitous part.
Not the good fortune part.
We were at the Trump inauguration, and
one of the millions, the biggest crowd ever.
Ever, huge.
We left during the course of the speech. Don felt a few raindrops, getting an early start to the bar. But the next day, there was no way you're getting out of that crowd early. I mean, it was enormous, the number of women marching on D.C. Yeah. It was an inspiring thing. Does gender factor into your candidacy, Chris?
I think that women are underrepresented in government. And I think my background, what I learned being in the military is the more diversity you have in any kind of group, the better solutions you come up with. And so from that aspect, I think the more women you have in government, because we're underrepresented, it's going to create better government. So it's not even a question of equality. It's just a question of what is going to serve Wisconsin. And I think having more women in Wisconsin government is going to make Wisconsin a better state. So as a woman, people have always asked me, well, what's it like being a woman in construction? I can't really answer that because I haven't been a man in construction, so I don't have a baseline for
comparison. Did you ever work on a farm? Dom's got some stories.
I used to get up at 5 o'clock every morning, but I digress. Chris Ralph, candidate for Wisconsin's State Assembly District number 60, joins us in studio. Chris, you brought up common issues, things that we need to work together. What do you see as some of the main issues that your constituents are concerned about?
I think healthcare is the first one, and then I think healthcare is the second one too. I've gone out and done some initial canvassing, not really to sell myself as a candidate, but to find out what people care about. And people are really worried about not having health insurance, not being able to pay for the health insurance they have, not being able to make the co-pays, and they're worried not only for themselves but for their children. And when you think about things that are kind of anchors on our economy right now, this insecurity about healthcare is huge. If you're in a job that you're underemployed in, but you don't want to lose your health insurance, you're not going to move to that next better job where you can make more of a contribution. Yep. So to me, if we can solve health care for people, make it affordable, make it accessible, cover those essential benefits, and we can do this at a state level, those are the kinds of things that are going to grow our economy here in Wisconsin and make it a place people want to move to.
Chris, do you emulate any current or former politicians? I looked at Bernie Sanders. You talk about health care. You talk a lot about single payer, about wondered who might have inspired you.
Elizabeth Warren, and I think, and the reason she inspires me is because she was not a career politician. She was a successful professor, and she saw problems in Washington that no one was addressing. So before she was even elected, she was knocking on doors about the credit card industry and the abuses, and so she's someone that really stands up for the average American. And she doesn't back down, and so she's probably my biggest inspiration.
I got to tell you, the most dynamic politician I've ever met in person, and we had the good fortune, we covered a DNC press call live. We had Elizabeth Warren on this big show today. Oh. So, she was your warm-up act, Chris. Folks, we're talking with Chris Ralph. She's a candidate for Wisconsin State Assembly District 60. So we've talked a little bit about background, and we've talked a little bit about inspiration. Let's talk about policy. What are you going to do for the people in the 60th Assembly District if you win?
Well, I'm going to push for a solid health care policy. I believe in Badger Care for All. We're going to look at how we can responsibly grow the economy. So that means investing in the communities, education, good, solid public education, primary and secondary. To me, those are the keys to long-term economic growth. Also looking at local control. One of the things that we've seen in the last year is this assault on local government control. In fact, my opponent authored and
named. Who's the opponent?
Robert Brooks.
Okay.
He has actually authored or co-authored 21 separate pieces of legislation in the last year alone that attacks local control. And I don't know which constituents he's listening to, but none of the doors I've knocked on, people have said, hey, you know what, we have too much local control. So I'm not sure where that's coming from. So just really basic common sense solutions to the issues that face us.
Chris Ralph, give them your website real quick.
Yeah, it's Chris, C-H-R-I-S, Ralph, R-A-H-L-F.com.
Thank you. Stick around. There will be more of this big show, but we got to turn the fine AM signal off. If you didn't hear, we were granted our FM on Friday.
Woohoo!
But in the meantime, till I get it up a flagpole, please stream us live, newstalk1510am.com. More Devil's Advocates. Will be right back.
Good evening, everyone. Due to FCC regulations and that we are a daytime AM radio station, this now concludes our broadcast day. But you don't have to leave us. We do stream online 24/7 at newstalk1510am.com. That's newstalk1510am.com. Or check us out on the TuneIn app at WRRD 1510am. For those of you already streaming, we now continue regular programming, and please welcome your friends from the radio station. Say hi, everyone. News Talk 1510 AM, WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
He is Mark Thompson. He is the chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission.
When the leader of the Senate acts like a king rather than an elected representative and won't even give a hard-working person a hearing before he asks for his head on a plate, that is being a bully. So this is not, this is just stating the facts. No fake news here.
The Devil's Advocates, weekday afternoons on 1510 AM, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property, or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009, or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Going through divorce is a very emotional time in someone's life, and when I went through my first divorce, I really needed someone to help me through the legal aspects of what my rights were. That's why I got in contact with Lawton & Cates.
The attorneys at Lawton & Cates. It's who you turn to for legal advice. 282-6200 or lawtoncates.com.
When you need an attorney, trust the voice of experience, the only choice, Lawton & Cates.
Hi, I'm Crudy. I'm here with my friend Tom Alonzi, Principal Officer with Teamsters Local 200. Tom, why are you union strong, Teamster strong?
Well, because, Crudy, the Teamsters are the most powerful labor union in North America with 1.4 million members, standing together for better wages, benefits, and working conditions at their respective places of work.
Tom, what are the unions going to do for the next generation?
The same things we Teamsters have done for the generations before them, Crudy. Give them respect, dignity, and representation with a legal binding contract with their employer, not just the empty promises of an ever-changing employee handbook.
Tom, if people want to know more about the unions or joining the Teamsters, what do they do?
Well, Crudy, they can simply call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 and say, I'd like to know more about becoming a Teamster. Or they can go to our website at teamsterslocal200.com.
Be union strong. Stand with Teamsters Local 200, like News Talk 1510 AM and your friend Crudy.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio 1510 AM. If you missed any of this fine program, you can go to the website. You can download and listen to podcasts or interviews at domandcroot.com.
Dominic, we've asked her to stick around. We've got Chris Rolfe in our Brady Street studio here in Milwaukee. She is a candidate for Wisconsin's Assembly District number 60, and that is a little north there, hey, of Milwaukee.
Just a little bit.
But you can certainly hear, at least while the FCC allows us to leave it on, our fine AM signal at 1510 AM. We're just talking about right-wing talk radio. It's been pervasive. It's really been a turnout mechanism, especially of the white and the right. Right-wing talk radio, how has it affected your backyard, your neighborhood?
Well, in some areas in Washington County, in northern Ozaukee County, that's the primary source of news. And what's a struggle about that is when you're trying to talk about issues. It used to be we all came from the same point of reference. We at least had the same group of facts to work from.
Well, you could trust Walter Cronkite once upon a time to tell it like it was.
Absolutely, and that's kind of gone by the wayside. So now when you're talking, you really have to dig just that much deeper to find common ground. And there is common ground to be found, but you have to spend some time and understand really where people are coming from, what information they have access to, and then work from there.
Chris, I've always thought that right-wing talk radio was not in the business of informing so much as propagandizing. And it has bothered me quite a bit, and Dom knows this. We strive to always tell the truth and lead with facts. Well, I guess I'll get around to asking you a question here, Chris. In this day and age of fake news and alternative facts and alternative news sources, where do you think people should turn other than this fine program? Where should people turn to for the truth? Where would you encourage listeners from the 60th Assembly District? Where are you telling them to go to get the facts, not the partisan version of the facts?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you have to do your own research. And the good news is there's a lot of sources out there on the internet. I'll give you an example, gun control. That's an issue that is very much a hot button for people. But, for me, it's about going back and looking for the actual data. The same thing with healthcare. I can go back into the internet and find out, how healthcare costs have escalated. Did Obamacare have any impact on that escalation at all? And the answer is no. But you have to go back and look at the facts to figure that stuff out. And I think people have an innate sense of when they're being lied to. So even though if you can get past the emotion and the emotional language, I think people know when something's wrong. And I'll give you an example. If you go, I was canvassing with Dennis Dagenhart the last 3 or 4 weekends. And some people that we'd go knock on doors, they'd bring up Foxconn. And I know there's been a lot of propaganda out there about how this is going to do great things for the entire state. And these are hardcore Republicans, some of them, and they don't buy it.
A little skeptical, are they?
They're a little skeptical. So I think people have an innate sense about when they're being lied to. And I think if you take the time and have the conversations, I think you can connect, you can find that common ground, and you can talk about real issues.
Chris, once upon a time, high-speed rail was a winning electoral wedge issue, at least the killing of the high-speed rail for Scott Walker. That was $1 billion of federal investment into the state of Wisconsin, our tax dollars being reinvested in infrastructure. Scott Walker somehow convinced people that was a really bad idea because they weren't going to ride the rails. Well, here's my question. How does he convince anybody that it's a great idea to give $4.5 billion to a foreign corporation? They get to build a factory. There's a manufacturing and agribusiness tax credit in the state of Wisconsin. Effectively, even if they're highly profitable here, we as the taxpayers garner no benefit. We don't collect taxes, seemingly 0.4% from manufacturers. So I'm trying to twist this rant into a question again here for you, Chris. Foxconn clearly could be an electoral wedge issue, much like the high-speed rail was. I'm not clear that we can kill the deal, but if we could kill the deal or at least use it as an electoral wedge issue, do you think it's fair to do so? I mean, the same people that voted for Scott Walker to kill the high-speed rail, I got to think at least a few of them would vote for a Democrat or Democratic legislators to kill this Foxconn deal if they were able.
I think so. I mean, I think fiscal responsibility is a nonpartisan issue. And I think, I think spending money on Foxconn, spending money on slick posters in mass transit down in Chicago, these are wastes of taxpayers' money. And I think absolutely it's an issue that we should be talking about, especially in areas that really aren't going to see benefit from Foxconn. I went to a presentation at the Chamber of Commerce in Mequon, WEDC, and they were showing the value of Foxconn, and they were talking about the supply chain. And so they were showing the supply chain of Johnsonville sausage and comparing that to the supply chain that Foxconn is going to have. And, I'm not a sausage expert and I'm not a flat screen TV expert, but I think those supply chains aren't really comparable.
China.
Yeah, and China. When you look at the parts that are going to be assembled, they're lightweight. There's nothing that says that they're going to be purchased in the radius that's going to impact Wisconsin.
And then automation will also have an impact. Perhaps. Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Chris Ralph, candidate for Wisconsin's Assembly District number 60. The big party news comes next week, but we have her in studio on Brady Street with us right now. Last couple of minutes, Chris. I was on your Facebook page recently, saw some of your videos that you put out there, and you talked about having the environment in it of itself being addressed as part of the community, almost like a person. I want to get your opinion. The Foxconn, we heard the Republicans say, well, we can change the laws because the federal government's going to be here, and the federal government comes out and says, no, not our issue. What's your thought on the environmental impact of Foxconn?
Well, my understanding is that, number one, it's going to use about 11 million gallons of water a day in their assembly process. That water has to go somewhere. They're draining wetlands. It's going to have a tremendous environmental impact. And more importantly, I believe the Republicans are using this as a precedent to now go and say, okay, any other manufacturing plant, we're going to waive all the state requirements so that you build here. So, I think it can have tremendous impact on our environment. And ultimately, that's the legacy we leave to our kids is the environment. So I'm very concerned about that.
Chris Ralph, Assembly candidate, a Democrat, District 60. Give me your website one more time, Chris.
Yes, it's Chris Ralph, ChrisRalf.com.
Thank you for coming down to Brady Street. Thanks to all our fine guests today. They included State Rep Joel Clayfish from 1510 a.m. Of course, he does the Joel and Joel Costa show on Saturdays. Thank you, Assembly Minority Leader, State Rep Gordon Hentz. And of course, Chris Ralph, a fine candidate for Wisconsin Assembly District 60. Thanks for coming down. I appreciate a patriot, someone who served their country like yourself, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, all the listeners. Devil's Advocates will do it again tomorrow. We got Pocan tomorrow, or is that Thursday? Many fine guests coming. Believe me. Thanks for listening.
I know words. I have the best words.
Calling the nations they come from shitholes.
Wisconsin Republican Attorney General Brad Schimmel claims he will further investigate the investigators of the John Doe 2 investigation because it was all a partisan witch hunt. Wisconsin State Rep Chris Taylor said this.
There is absolutely no concern expressed by this Attorney General or these Republican legislators about the underlying criminal conduct that this corruption investigation revealed. Scott Walker was breaking laws.
And Brad Schimmel fails to acknowledge the 6 criminal convictions